I'm Commander Shepard, and the Unnamed Games podcast is my favorite podcast on the Citadel. Shepard out.
Good morning, people of the internet. It's a bit of a change this week. I am back hosting in place of Mr. Indiana Bond. Once again, he said something about shaving his legs, and he needed a weekend off for it, apparently. So, he's taking a break. But I have the usual reprobates with me. On this side over here, Mr. Thunderlips McQueen. How's it going, buddy?
Sir, Phil, Officer Phil, sir.
Excellent, sir. Thank you for your attendance. For anyone who doesn't understand, I like to run a tight ship on this podcast. I gave them all strict timings for each of the segments.
He's completely picked the wrong couple of guys to try.
I love it. I love the way he opens with. I liked the timings, and yet, like, we had a vague time when we were going to start. We all got on for when we were going to start, and now we're half an hour late. He runs a tight ship, though, Alan.
Yeah,
ship.
As I was saying, it got blown out the water before we even started recording. And the second voice below me down here, Mr. Rats the Tweets. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, mate. I've got coffee and I've got a can of the mighty Iron Brew to get in through this. Made in Scotland from Gareth. Sorry about the probably poor Scottish accent. Just bizarrely, like I've got Iron Brew because the other day I found a video on YouTube, again YouTube algorithm, of an American guy reacting to Iron Brew adverts, and I watched some of the classic Iron Brew adverts, and I've forgotten how genuinely genius Iron Brew's marketing team is. Like, it's genuinely some of the best advertising I've ever seen. I'll have to send you a couple, guys, to watch later.
Just to say, other soft beverages are available, and we are not sponsored by Iron Brew. Although we can be sponsored by Iron Brew. We would totally accept sponsorship if you're watching, but we're not currently.
I would at least wear a T-shirt, or maybe replace the lovely sheet I have here with something that says Iron Brew if they were to sponsor
I think if it's Iron Brew, we all need to dye our hair and beards bright orange.
Hold on, ow.
Yeah, because we didn't get beaten up enough at school.
Me and Craig dyeing our hair. Are you just taking the mickey now? Like, me and Craig dye our hair? Come on, mate. Like,
please, if you turn me upside down, you get you. Except for I need to shave first, obviously. But
we could just colour you in with like a felt tip or something, Ratley. That'd be fine. Or a highlighter.
Just paint me while you're at it. Yeah, just get the roller out.
See, we've already started digging into Phil's omnipotent presence. We haven't even started, and we've managed to waste a whole 5 minutes of the pod talking about complete nonsense. Phil, you don't stand a chance.
I know I don't. But I keep trying. Do you know what? I even wrote on the running orders like 5 minutes each, and they already just shot it down. So not going to happen.
Victory!
So
my fans need to know what I've been up to this week. You know, I mean,
that is true, and far be it to make them wait any longer. So I'm going to go straight to Chris. What have you been up to this week, buddy? What have you been up to? Talk to me.
Well, I've been painting a lot. I've had a couple of commission pieces to do. One which is still a secret and I can't show at the minute, so I won't reveal it because it's for somebody for a surprise. So no spoilers there. Another one was just a paid commission. I got that finished, which was nice. Then I've been painting some other bits and pieces, doing a bit of printing. Doing that, and then I watched a few things on the Netflix machine.
On the Netflix machine.
Well, actually, So I watched Car Masters Rust to Riches, Season 3. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure. Well, I guess a guilty pleasure. I kind of love
this show.
This show's great. I mean, there's two reasons to love it. Like, you make really killer like custom cars, and Constance is really hot.
Yeah, so she's got a solid model profile going on.
Yeah, it has that thing over other shows, but they make these really killer one-off custom cars in America. Like, and some of them are really, really mad. You can see, like, obviously what's going on in the video now, and like, absolutely mind-blowing some of the stuff they come up with, and I love it. And they're a good bunch of characters, really interesting stuff. The ideas are cool. They are like genuinely unique. And Season 3 dropped the other day, and I binged the hell out of it. Basically, I really enjoy that show. And I recommend it if you like cars.
I watched it in one day. I was like, ooh, Car Masters. Bing.
Yeah. It's I've seen a few of these, like, upscaling cars, or getting old cars and redoing them. And I don't think anyone does it quite like these guys do it. The Gotham Garage guys, they're really cool. Really enjoy it. Like, they're a cool bunch of guys as well. Good bunch of characters. yeah, I mean, really enjoyable. And they leave it on a suitable cliffhanger for season 4.
That absolutely killed me. So season 1 and 2, it's like one or two builds per episode.
Yeah.
But what they did with season 3 is they do like 2 builds, but you get to the end of it, and then they wouldn't tell you how it turned out until the next episode.
Yeah.
So it just forced me. So I was like, I need to know, did they sell it?
Yeah.
Did they lose money? And then I have to watch the next episode, and it's like 5 hours straight, I think, to watch everything. Maybe
one of the highlights to me was when he redid his uncle's bike from the fire damage, and I won't explain how to do it, but like that as just a concept was awesome. I thought it was really cool. So yeah, I definitely recommend if you're into really cool custom like stuff, that's a great show to watch. I also watched on Netflix actually just recently a thing called Bake Team. Now it sounds like a little bit wishy-washy, but I really love watching anyone who's great at anything do anything. So if you're really good at anything, it's always quite interesting to watch someone who's real master of their craft. And this Bake Team is basically this woman's got like 4 great masters of their craft to make like custom desserts, and they compete for like friendly competition to win the chance to be the featured dessert at someone's birthday party or whatever. And there's usually a story that goes along with it, you know. And the first one, there's this woman and she has 2 kids, and then she wants to make this like special like birthday cake for their party because they're having a joint birthday party. And what they actually end up with isn't a cake. This guy makes a 4-foot dragon egg out of chocolate. And it's honestly like it's masterful to watch these people make this, but you get to see all this like different process and stuff. And I mean, it's probably because I can't eat it as well. I'm not allowed any of it, so I'm just like torturing myself. But honestly, like if you just like seeing people who are exceptionally good at what they do, and it's a crafty like whether it be artistic or whatever. These people are artists in desserts. Like honestly, some of the stuff they come up with is amazing. Like, and I can't recommend it enough. It's just a nice fun little show, good no-brainer. Put it on. It ain't gonna be like heavy sci-fi and dealing with political themes. It's just nice to watch people who are great at something do something they're great at and enjoy it. So yeah, I did that, and then I've completely forgotten what the other thing I was going to talk about. Phil, remind me, because
I'm going to prompt you with a video.
Oh, of course.
Prompt you with a video. I didn't pre-watch this. So
come on.
Yesterday, I went. I forget what I was walking somewhere, and I was like, something came along. I was like, do you know what? I haven't watched in years, and I really fancy a watch of is Dog Soldiers. And I don't know how it came about in my mind, but I got it in my head. I need to watch this. Now I looked around all the streaming platforms, couldn't find it, and I had to rent it in the end because I don't actually own a copy, which I'm disgusted with myself for. So I rented it from Google Play, £3.50. I can't recommend if you're into kind of black comedy / horror / this is one of my favorite films I've seen in years. It's a werewolf movie, but it's also quite low budget, so don't expect any like underworld standard.
We're not talking CG werewolves here either.
Yeah,
we're talking
it's proper
very
costume
low budget. It's proper full big head costumes, and you can tell they're people in costumes, but it doesn't matter because it's not supposed to be a scary movie.
Exactly that.
It's a horror movie, but with a hell of sorry, my phone's got volume on. With a lot. Let me just mute that for everybody. So it's done by Neil Marshall, who is also the director of let me get this right. He actually did The Descent, which is a proper horror movie.
That's proper scary, that film.
Which is one of my favourite horror movies of all time. It's
what an ending on that. That is bleak as like,
let's not even talk. We're going off topic, but let's not even talk about the second movie, which completely ruins the ending of the first movie. It's supposed to be ambiguous, but that's a whole conversation all on its own.
Oh, where's Phil gone?
He's obviously picking his nose. He's had to go off screen. What else has he directed? He recently directed, and I feel sorry for Neil in telling people this, but he actually directed the most recent Hellboy with David Harbour, which is an absolute travesty of a movie. No offense to David Harbour, who does a brilliant turn, but the movie itself is awful. But these are the first 2 movies that Neil Marshall did. Dog Soldiers, and then he did Descent, and quite frankly, they're his best 2 movies. Dog Soldiers is just ridiculously funny, and it's just
fun and enjoyable, and like we found out Craig hadn't seen it, and it's the trouble with Dog Soldiers, like trying to explain it to somebody without spoiling it, and also like what it is quite difficult. I said it is a horror, but it is a comedy.
Who've had to go on manoeuvres in the Scottish Highlands that are really annoyed because they're missing the football match, attacked by a bunch of werewolves. Yeah, that's basically.
But there's more to it than that. There is more to it than that.
That's the basic. That's the beginning.
But like it's full of great British like dark humor. Like I don't want to say it's cracking jokes because there are a few funny one-liners, but it isn't cracking jokes constantly. But it's got like that sort of twisted dark humor that we Brits kind of like and enjoy, like very gallows humor at points. I genuinely can't recommend that enough for an hour and a half of entertainment. It's just great. It has one of my, as we were discussing pre-pod, it has one of my favourite swearers in the game, Sean Pertwee as the Sarge. He's very sweary in it and great in it. All the cast are great, to be fair. I honestly would say to you, like, if you've got an hour and a half, you want to spend £3.50 on a movie, I recommend it over most like modern fare in its kind of class. Certainly, if you want to watch a werewolf or a vampire movie, it's better than any of the last 3 Underworld movies by a long chalk. By a long chalk. Underworld's one of the series that started well, just to digress things, and it's certainly better than every Twilight movie ever made, ever. You and me, Chris, we quite often disagree quite strongly on a lot of things. For once on this Sunday morning, we are completely aligned, not only on the Twilight comment, but on the whole of Dog Soldiers. It is an awesome movie. It's a great film, genuinely. It is so one of the best British, modern, seminal British movies that you will ever watch. If you don't like it, you're a little dead inside, quite frankly. It's amazing. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. You can't. It's low budget. It's fun. Just get on it. Like, watch Dog Soldiers. It's an old film now, so don't expect, like we say, super CG or budgets. This is done before CG was available to everyone, so you have to keep that in mind. It's old school practical effects, but it's great. It's just genuinely great. Go watch it. Go watch it. You honestly, as a piece of entertainment, you won't regret it. If you can get past a few age-related things to just like what they had to shoot because of budget and not being able to do things modern. But I think in 20 years, that's going to stand up better than a lot of the low-budget CG we see now because they haven't messed about with it. So genuinely, great direction, great pacing, great script, just a fun film. Go watch it.
Cool.
You might get the impression me and Alan really like this movie, by the way.
Yeah, really. I wasn't guessing it. I've never watched it, so I'm now going to watch it based on your recommendation.
What? How is
why do
pre-warned you about
why do we even talk to these people, Chris? I mean, why? They're just heathens.
How is 50% of our podcast crew not seen Dog Soldiers? I just don't get that. Like, I'm disappointed immensely in you and Craig for this, disappointed immensely.
Yeah, maybe we'll remedy it. Maybe what we should do is get you to tell us what you're going to talk about beforehand, and then we'll watch it so you can't just throw us under the bus.
We can really do that level of planning. Yes, that's totally going to work.
Yeah, it's all going so well today, as we can see. Right. Well, we're going to talk about that anyway. Thank you, Chris. That was a lovely little bit around there. Now, Alan, you have many adoring fans, and as you've said, they all want to know what you've been doing this week. Technically for the last 2 weeks, because you had a break last week. Talk to me, Alan. What have you been up to?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that, Phil. I'm really, really glad. What have I been up to? Well, I've been up to quite a lot, actually. Quick update on my city skylines, on my city, which is called Castle Rock, which I've been mentioning. I'm up to 100,000 people, which is, that is really, really good. I've actually breached the last milestone, which means I've opened up, I think they're called landmarks. So you can get things like space elevators and things that do really big things to your city. So I'm really pleased with it. I had a little bit of a problem where I accidentally built a bit too much industry warehouses and ended up with a commercial, basically, I think it was a commercial depression where literally every business in the city went out of business. And I was like, it looked like it was the whole city was going to go under, but I managed to save it and managed to get back up to 100,000. It's 105. So I'm really pleased because I've never got to that level of like population in a. That's Chris opening his can of Iron Brew there.
Very subtly.
Surreptitiously, like under the camera because nobody noticed. But anyway, so
I didn't know. I didn't think you'd better hear it. To be completely honest,
it was like you sat in the same room as me, mate. But anyway, so the other thing I've done is I've been playing a lot of Magic: The Gathering, which is something that we're not going to talk to Chris about because he's an addict and he's not allowed to play it anymore. But it was exactly. Yeah, it's crack for Chris. But having a conversation with Craig a few weeks ago, and he loves games, but not obviously because we do the podcast, but not just digital games, but also board games like I do, and card games. And we don't really talk about those too much on here, but one of those that I'm massive fan of and have been involved in for the last like 6-7 years is Magic the Gathering. And I said, look, if you want to play it, because he tried to play, I think, one of the Xbox versions. And the thing is, Magic the Gathering is not an easy game to learn. Don't get me wrong, like anything else, the basics, once you know them, it's the basics and you can get ahead and you can play it. But it can be really daunting because there are thousands upon thousands of cards with different permutations, different sets that can do, and each card has something different that you can do. Not a different ability, but they all do something slightly differently. So if you've never played it before, you can look at it and go, oh God, it's just too much. I don't know what's going on. But I went down to Craig's with my physical decks last weekend while I was off. And we played some open hands where basically he had his cards showing, my cards showing. And I talked through the basic rules and some of the strategies that I would use. So I kind of, as he says, played a game against myself while asking him what he would do. And in that way, we had like a game that lasted about an hour and a half. And then he kind of start to get the gist of it. Then he played a game with his cards held hidden, and he actually won that game, I think, if I remember rightly. I could be wrong. And then when I came back home,
he was quite verbal about winning that, I believe, actually.
Yes,
he seemed very, very pleased with himself.
And this is the point, okay? And I'm sure there are some really hardcore Magic the Gathering players who tell you they've made Uber decks, and I'm sure they have. But with any game and with any card game, there is always an element of luck. And there are various things that you can try and mitigate within Magic, within your deck, to make sure these things don't happen. But invariably, even the top professionals have been watching some videos of competitions where it happens, where you just don't get the right cards out. And that doesn't matter how good your deck is or how many thousands of pounds you spent on cards. Every deck, if you don't get lands, or you get too many lands and not enough creatures, and you just don't have the right stuff to cast, you are going to lose. And that game, second game, I say quite surreptitiously, because it showed Craig that even with the amount of experience that he had and the lack of understanding of a lot of the stuff, he could still win a game. And then I came home and got him to download Magic the Gathering Arena. And if you've been watching our channel, we actually did a little stream yesterday, 45 minutes of us actually playing a game. Some fantastic graphics that Craig's put up, and hopefully we'll be playing some more. But again, Craig is starting to play that online version and starting to learn and starting to enjoy the fact that he's starting to understand what he's doing when he's playing cards. It can be a steep slope, but once you start to get that understand, I don't understand every rule and mechanism in Magic the Gathering. There's way too many. I still have to play games, and sometimes I look them up online and go, what the hell does that mean? I've never seen that before, because there is so many in the game. But I still have enough of an understanding to play and be fairly good at it sometimes.
I think Magic can be summed up like beautifully. There's a couple of games like it where it's a super easy game to learn the basics. It's an almost impossible game to master, because it's forever moving and there are always like things. So when you get into the complex stuff, like you say, it becomes this different animal and there's so much stuff going on that it'll take you forever to become really great at the game and understand it fully. It's a very complicated game, but on its surface, it's super fun and easy to pick up, play a few cards, tap a land, cast a thing, attack something, I've had a couple of friends who played it at a very high level in the past, and it always amazed me the commitment they've taken to learn all the ins and outs and follow the metas and stuff. But yeah, it's a great game because you can play it just for fun in a really casual way, or you can deep dive and go majorly hardcore on that game.
Yeah,
majorly hardcore.
So, and I totally agree. I mean, there is a whole level of complexity and strategy and cards that bounce off other cards and combos that you can, and because there's so many cards, there's so many permutations, and it can be incredibly complex. And I've played against some players, even online, that they've got decks that you're just like, oh my God, that's just ridiculous. It's just like everything you do, they have a counter for. And it's like, how are they doing that? I don't, and it's just phenomenal. But at the same time, as you say, you can just have casual games, and it's not just about playing the game, it's about collecting the cards. I have one of my decks here, one of my favorite decks, which is my artifact deck. And I'm still, when I play the game, I see new cards that come out with new sets, and I'm always working on and think, oh, that would fit really well into my deck. Is there a card that it would be better than? So it's a constantly evolving thing, and something that I'm very passionate about. And it's also about collecting as well. I like to collect unique lands. So I have like a folder where I actually collect lands. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. And I see a new land come out with new sets, and I want those lands. So I collect them as well as play them. We have hundreds downstairs in the cupboard. I mean, I've actually got my wife playing it and my son. So I've indoctrinated them all in, and now I'm working on Craig. Craig, you're already lost, but Phil, I'm looking at you, buddy. You know you want one. Just one game. You'll feel good. It'll be good. It'll be lovely.
I can tell you, it's a wonderful game, but be prepared to lose all of your money to buying cards if you get into the card collecting, because it is like...
Yeah, that scares me deeply.
But that's
it is a wonderful game. It is a wonderful, wonderful game. I can't fault it. It's one of the best constructed games, like in terms of mechanics there is. I don't really gel with it, and like I think it's probably because of like I've got a bit of a past with Magic and it wasn't really fun for me at the time. But like it is, you can't fault it in terms of when you look at it in terms of is it a well-made, well put together game. It's one of the best that's ever been made.
The card quality, they're almost like little works of art. Everything tells you who the artist is. There's a picture part of the panel on the card. It's like these things are collector's items. But as far as playing it, as I say, it is a rocky road. But one thing I find is that playing Magic the Gathering Arena, it is kind of a kind of hybrid mobile game that you can play on the PC and actually work between. But you can play it on your phone, and it has a lot of the mechanics that type of game would have, where you can play it. But what it does have is the fact it doesn't have any blockers like a lot of mobile games where it say you can't continue until you've waited 20 minutes or 20 hours or whatever. It doesn't have that. What it does have is that you can do challenges that will give you coins that enable you to buy more packs and level up if you play ranked games online. And you don't have to pay any money. So you can still get packs. I've managed to get about 8 to 10 packs this week, and I haven't spent a single penny.
But you can buy packs as well.
You can. Yes, you can. Obviously, and there are people on there that have probably spent hundreds of pounds on it and have made their decks with these like all these cards and blah blah blah.
Alan, if you're talking Magic players, you know as well as I do, hundreds of pounds is like a total understatement.
You're totally right. But I don't have to, and I still have a lot of fun. I'm playing against my wife. I'm playing against Craig now, and it doesn't cost me a penny to do that. And I still have some really good decks on there that really kick ass, and I'm very proud of. So you don't have to commit loads of financial stuff to playing the arena game. If you want to spend some money, and I just did because I bought the season pass, because you kind of get benefits for doing that. And whenever a new set comes out, so I think they release maybe, was it 4 to 5 sets a year usually? I don't know what it is these days. I think it's about that. And it has all the new cards, hundreds of new cards, some of which are reprints, but stuff like that. And the same thing that all happens within the arena game as well. So you can go back and collect cards from different sets and different things. There's loads of game rules. I'm not going to get into it, and I've talked about it more than enough. Yes, I know. I've passed my 5 minutes, Phil. But I've got other things to talk about. I've got other things to talk about. I'm not going to. That's all I'm here for. I just want to talk about myself. I don't care about the rest of you. I'll play another game that I played this week, right? Hades. So that came on Game Pass on the Xbox this week, and you know, I played it. I played it for about 2 hours, and I can see why it won the BAFTA Game Award in 2021. I can see why it's a very polished game, and it stands up against a lot of the big AAA titles. It's really, really slick. It's really, really good. However, I played a game not that long ago that was also on Game Pass called Curse of the Dead Gods. And when I played it, it's the first thing that all the reviewers said, because I was watching a lot of the reviews on it, and they were saying, this is basically the same game as Hades. It does this slightly differently. It does this slightly differently. And at the time, I'd not played Hades. It was only available on the PC, and I didn't have one. So I didn't know what the game was. Now that I have Hades, I can totally see what they were saying. And I have to be honest, there are lots of the elements in Curse of the Dead Gods which I actually prefer to the elements in Hades, and that's a personal preference. That's not to say Hades is not a great game. It's like there are just some little elements, like there are curses that you get within that game that have negative effects on you, and I haven't seen that in Hades.
They're in there.
Positive, are they? I just haven't reached them yet. Okay.
Chaos, mate. If you haven't reached Chaos strikes those up and gives you boons which will negatively affect you. But they say how they work is they give you a negative effect initially. And if you can survive the 4 encounters or whatever number they give you, they then give you a positive effect afterwards.
But it's the same, essentially they're the same game, and quite frankly, and yes, there's a bit more polish, I think, on Hades than there is on Curse. But that's not to say Curse of the Dead Gods isn't a great game. They're both on Game Pass. So
I'm talking about it, Al. To be fair,
yeah. So if you've got the time, download both of them. If you don't like Hades, give Curse a try. But they're both the same thing. Rinse and repeat. You die, you go back, you get some small bonuses to your skill sets. You keep moving forward, and you can get a little bit further. I've tried the boss. What's her name? One of the harpies. Meg.
Meg.
Yeah,
Meg.
The
Fury. Meg the Fury.
Meg the Fury. That's it, the Fury. Right. And she's killed me like 3 times. I'll get past her eventually. I know I will.
I was so happy when I killed her, mate. The first time I killed her, I was like, yes!
But that's kind of the point. You just keep getting a little bit better and you go forward, and it's randomly generated dungeons where you get a choice to go left or right, and you get better equipment, you upgrade, and you just keep going forward. It's a good, fun game. It's not going to keep me playing for weeks and weeks and weeks, but I'm enjoying it. But if you like that, you might also like Curse of the Dead Gods. I've also paid back. Oh, sorry, Chris, got something else?
I was going to say, I dabbled at Hades. I was going to say, as roguelikes go, and I'm not the biggest roguelike player. The last one I played was West of Dead, which I enjoyed, and I love the aesthetic and the look of West of Dead, and I thought it looked great. Ron Perlman's voice acting was cool in it, but the gameplay on that definitely wasn't anywhere near as engaging as the gameplay on Hades. And just the general vibe and aesthetic of Hades is more fun and drag. It keeps me wanting to play it. Whereas West of Dead suffers from that roguelike thing of burning out on the repetitive nature a bit too much for me. Now, some players I know love the whole, I'm just going to keep rinse, repeat, and get better and faster and do better times. That's not overly my type of game. Hades is definitely keeping me hooked a bit better because it's more fun and more light-hearted. I think about the
humor's good. Yeah, the
way it deals with you dying is quite humorous. Yeah. And things like that. And so I like that aspect to it. But equally, I got quite far, and I was in the second part. I got out of the first thing, and I was like, got to the second part, then died, and I'm right back at. I was like, okay,
welcome to the world of roguelite. Always back at the beginning. Thanks, Chris. And the other game, which we're going to talk about a little bit more after this, so I'm not going into too much detail, is we've all been playing the Back 4 Blood open beta. We were all on last night for a good 3 hours playing through the whole thing, and we'll talk about that in a bit more depth. But obviously, I've really enjoyed that. But we'll move on. And the last thing I'm going to talk about, you'll be pleased to hear, Phil, is what is it. He's looking really tense. He's like I've given up all hope.
Is that because it's the last thing, or because you think I'm going to like what you're going to talk about?
It could go either way, to be honest, mate. It is What If, which is the new animated series on Disney Plus, and it's about alternate universes and the Watcher and sort of stuff like that. And if you know the Marvel universe, you'll know what I'm talking about. And the first episode was out this week, and it was about Captain Carter. So it was the alternate universe where it isn't Captain America but Captain Carter instead. And, I perfectly honest, it was entertaining. It was good. I wasn't wowed. I wasn't like, this is like the best thing ever. I remember watching the first episode of Loki and coming away and going, oh my God, that was just amazing. I need to see next week's episode right now. I watched this and it was entertaining. It was done really well. It was slightly different story from the original story, but it's still basically in a lot of ways the same story that I've already seen, and it did bring a couple of new things, but the animation is great, really, really good. The storytelling is pretty good, and the voice acting is really, really good. I'm interested to see what they do with the other episodes, because I think each individual episode will deal with a different what if. That's why the title is what it is. So you'll see different alternate universes where different things happen. Out of this episode, only 3 have the original voice actors. I think it was Samuel L. Jackson was Fury, Jeremy Renner was Hawkeye, and was it Sebastian Stan played Bucky Barnes. He's not actually the Winter Soldier in this because the timeline is different, but it's also set back at the beginning of Captain America time, so it's all that part. But really enjoyable in the sense that it was just something new, but I wasn't wowed by it, if I'm honest. And that is me done.
Fantastic. Nice. Oh, lots of good stuff in there. I'm very interested to watch that What If, but I feel like it's one of those things I'd probably look forward to binging, so I might just wait until there's a few episodes out and then drop straight into it. Well, I suppose I'm the only one left to go now.
We've run out of time, Phil. We can't talk about it even.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
End of the stream. Yeah, just turn it off. like Ratley talked about earlier, I also binged through Rust to Riches for Car Masters, and I really enjoyed that. So we don't really need to go over that again, but fantastic TV show. There's a couple other really good ones on Netflix that are similar down the line. So Rust Valley Restorers does the same kind of thing.
I really didn't like that. I really didn't like that. I watched about one episode and a half, and that guy, the main guy, just did my tree in. I was like, I can't watch you. You're so insufferable.
Really? I really like them, particularly his mate Avery, because he's just the most horrendous individual.
A couple of the supporting cast were quite cool, but the main guy, I couldn't stand him. Anyway, sorry.
You didn't like him?
I mean, apparently not. So yeah, I mean that's another one I really like because they restore old muscle cars. So I was really enjoying that. I'm watching through that again because there's 3 seasons of that, and they've just added Inside West Coast Customs as well, which I think they only added either yesterday or the day before. Which is the main guy that's the CEO. I've forgotten his name now, Ryan something, I think his name is. But it goes behind the scenes of all the premium stuff. So it's not like the Pimp My Ride stuff. It's where they're, these £100,000 plus custom builds where they're doing like a truck for the brand Spy, or they did like a red Camaro for, I can't remember the name of the band now, I've forgotten it. Something Result Lights or something like that. I don't know. They did a custom car for the band, and it lined up with their song.
That's a great name for a band. I'm going to start a band and call it that just because it's.
I don't know. I genuinely can't remember who it is, but it's the people that did Life is a Highway for the movie Cars. So whoever that band is.
Rascal Flatts.
Rascal Flatts. There we go. Yeah, they made a red Camaro because one of their new songs was called Red Camaro. So they did like a custom car for that as well. So there's some really cool stuff on there. There's some stuff in there that doesn't interest me, and there's like 7 seasons, so you can skip through the stuff that isn't interesting.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's another good thing.
In the past, and it was good. There was I think they did one. There were some old seasons on there years ago, and then it's gone and come back, kind of thing.
Yeah. So, basically, just dropped it straight back into Netflix with all 6 or 7 seasons. So yeah, something else to watch if you like that kind of car modding stuff. Then I've also been dipping into a couple of games this week. So the first one I wanted to show you was this one. So this is Chris Tales, and I absolutely love the aesthetic of this game. This is a slightly earlier trailer for when it first released on Switch, but it's now on Game Pass as of a week and a half ago. And it's very much kind of like it's got light RPG elements, like you'll find items and things like that and better weapons. But the main really cool kind of mechanic of it is you basically travel forward or backward in time. So the screen is divided up. So you can see like a triangle in the middle of the screen now. And on the left side of the triangle is the past, and on the right side of the triangle is the future. And you have this crazy little frog that wears a hat and talks to you, and you can basically jump between the past and the future. So you can retrieve.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that sentence again, please, Phil? That you have a crazy little frog that wears a hat that's your friend, and you jump between the past and the future. Is that what you just said?
That it is, yes. And there
just so we're clear. Okay.
No drugs involved in this game whatsoever. It's
Okay.
just purely a sober experience. Before you ask that question.
Can I go to clarify? Are we sure there were never any drugs involved in this game? Because
I'm not convinced.
I'm not convinced you came up with a time-traveling frog wearing a hat who's your buddy without some kind of drugs being involved. If I'm completely honest, you know.
You might well be right on that one. You might well be right. But yes.
You were hitting the Saki. Please carry on.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, like, it's a nice kind of, it's fairly simplistic, the battle mechanics on it. Like, you've got little menus to add different types of attack and magic. The main mechanic is like, you can basically affect something in the current and see how it pans out in the future. So you can grab something from the past, bring it to the present to affect the future. So I think that's a really cool kind of mechanic to it. And, I quite like it. Like, you run through the main little town, and as you're running through, you can see like the shops falling down from like termite rot, for example, is really early on. You have to decide which shop to save from termite rot.
They really didn't build those shops very well, did they?
They didn't. Well, no, they didn't catch the termites. So you can run past and they're all nice and shiny in the past, and all the owners look really young. And then you look in the present and they're all like kind of in their 40s, and business isn't going that well. And then when you look in the future, depending on which one you save, one of them is just this dilapidated, collapsed shell of a house. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. It's well worth a look. It's on Game Pass. I think it's got such a fantastic art style. So highly recommend that. Particularly as you guys like roguelites and stuff. It's not really the same thing. It's more of an RPG, but it looks cool. And the other game I've been playing a lot of is Nier Replicant. So I've got a little video dropped in here as well. So this is the remaster, and Nier Replicant is the Japanese version, because they did Nier
Automata?
No, Nier Automata is the current one with the androids. That's like in the future after this one. Nier Gestalt, it's called, which was basically a westernized version of this game. So in the Replicant version, basically your sister Yona has caught some horrible disease that involves words running up and down her body and makes her very sick. In the Japanese version, you play her brother, whereas in the Western version, which was released on 360, you actually played her father. So they kind of westernized it, I guess, to make the story more palatable, perhaps. Personally, I'm a big kind of Japanese and JRPG fan anyway, so I prefer the
really. This is news to me.
You haven't mentioned it before.
Yeah, shocker. So actually, but I could never play the Japanese version because it was only ever in Japanese, and I don't speak.
Can't you do the whole VPN thing where you change your VPN to like that?
It's language, I think.
Well, no, it's the language barrier. You can buy the game.
You mean you haven't learned Japanese by now, Phil? You've been playing so many JRPGs over the years, and you still haven't learned Japanese. I mean, come on, dude, some commitment, please.
To my shame, I think it's about 2,500 hours to learn it fluently, and I just have not committed the time, I'm afraid, as opposed to
No. You're saying you haven't got 2,500 hours to learn Japanese fluently, Phil, and you call yourself a fan of JRPGs? Get out of here with your casual attitude.
Not sure where we're going with this, but I don't like it. It sounds like I'm being thrown under a bus again.
What was that picture there? I'm sorry, that was inappropriate.
I didn't watch the whole of the trailer, but it's fine.
That was very inappropriate.
There is, let's just say, that one was fine. That was his sister. Her dress looks basically like
some mild Japanese paedophilia there at the end of the trailer.
Can I just? Isn't Nier Automata the game? Mate. Is it Nier which has the achievement for if you look up the character's skirt 10 times or something, it gives you a 0 point achievement for being a pervert, essentially.
But it's like they went to the trouble to actually put that achievement in there because they knew that's what people would do.
Yeah. I think it is Nier. It's Nier Automata.
Maybe it's Nier Automata.
One of them. It's one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair,
isn't it 2B?
Yeah, 2B. The main
if you look up her skirt 10 times, whatever, you get a 0 point achievement telling you're basically a pervert. And it's like
nice. There's an achievement.
I think they're fairly justified. I mean, I might look up once, but why would you go back for a repeat look? I mean, you're just curious. You think, did they bother with the underwear? Can you see anything? So you go and have a look. It's like when you go into a computer game and you always test to see whether the toilets flush or whether the mirrors work. Yeah. It's the same thing. You want to see whether they went to the extra effort to actually program in something that you're probably not going to see. So you go and have a look. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. But if you're doing it 10 times, then you've got some issues.
The people who do it 10 times are the same people who bought Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball for their gameplay. It's those people.
That's so true.
To be honest, that one was like his sister, and her dress basically looks like, I don't know, a pillow cover that they've sewed bows onto. Other characters like Kanye is one of the other characters.
Other characters are available.
She looks like she's legitimately wearing some kind of negligee that's got peepholes on it. It's very questionable. I'm very surprised when they remastered it, they didn't change her outfit. I mean, it was traditional, I suppose, because of the remastered game, but it's very questionable on that one. But you don't actually play her as main character; she just follows you around for the first part of the game. So,
that's cool. Okay then. Yeah, that's
makes
not a problem. Then.
That makes it fine.
I think we should move on.
I mean, that aside and the outfits aside, the gameplay is very satisfying. It's got the usual light attack, heavy attack, dodge at the right time. You've got various types of magic on there, lances of dark magic, and
I'm not going to defend Phil's pervy nature because, that's not that long here. But I will say that everything I've heard about the Nier game says that if you don't play these games, you're doing yourself a disservice. They're so brilliantly crafted and exquisite in terms of gameplay. Like Nier Automata is supposed to be one of the best games of the last generation, I keep meaning to give it a go.
Me too.
It's one of these things that something else comes along and gets in the way.
I just need to build my next industrial estate or the next train station, and that just takes me away from playing Nier. So
once you start playing it, though, it sucks you in. It's got this fantastic sort of way where you'll play. It's like almost a top-down twin stick shooter, and then it'll move to a 3D action game where you're hacking and slashing and dodging, and then it'll move to a side-scrolling action game, and it fluidly moves in all these different types of elements. And Nier Replicant is obviously the earlier version that does the same thing. On the face of it, it's just a 3-dimensional world that you run around, you hack and slash, you kill a couple of sheep for some mutton. sell it to the old lady to feed her kids. Everybody's happy.
Like you do.
And then the next thing is you're in like a military complex and you're fighting robots, and it's gone to like a side scroller and you're having to dodge backwards and forwards.
Did they follow me around last February? They must have followed me around, because that's exactly how my February went.
Love it. But it's what they made the game on. Or did the game come first and you've just been indoctrinated and you haven't realised?
You could be right. I'm a robot.
Anyway.
I'm a robot.
Despite my best attempts to keep us online, we've talked for 38 minutes about stuff.
I know, it's nearly 40 minutes. You were willing to give us 5 minutes each, so that was 15 minutes. So we've nearly tripled the time. I feel that's been a success, Chris. I think we should pat ourselves on the back.
And Alan, we haven't even touched on Back for Blood yet.
No, we haven't. We got 3 news stories to get through as well. Yeah, Phil's going to be having a seizure by the time we get to an hour and a half.
He's going to be on the floor.
He's going to be perspiring like that guy from the Airplane movie.
Phil, you know what? If you just put in there, just try and keep it short this week, lads. We probably would have gone, all right, Phil, but you gave us a time limit.
Red rag to a bull, my friend. Red rag.
Naturally. Well, should we talk about Black for Blood? Because I very much want to talk about this, because I had my first experience playing it last night with you guys after I downloaded the beta that evening. And you know what? I didn't play Left 4 Dead or Left 4 Dead 2. So this was my first foray into this experience.
What did you do, Phil? You haven't watched Dog Soldiers. You haven't played Left 4 Dead. I mean, why are you even on this podcast? I mean, what do you do?
Nerd.
I mean, come on, man.
I was riding mountain bikes and chasing girls at that point in time.
Well, that paid off well for you, didn't it?
Obviously, yeah.
Sorry, dude. I may have taken that
Thanks,
step
man.
too
Yeah,
far. Love you, man.
Anyway, back to Back for Blood. So this is my first experience. You know what?
Just put a knife out your back and throw it back to him, mate. It's fine. You know?
No, you can come round and get it later. We pulls it out of my kidneys, if you like. Yeah. My first experience, I thought it was great. I mean, I never played the older ones, but you know, the shooting mechanics felt great on there. I love the fact that it's almost those really short, intense stints between each bit. Like you get out and then you get your weapons and you buy your bits from your supply crate, and then you go and you fight your way through the area and do whatever the mechanic is, lifting a truck, tipping over a doorway, whatever it is, and then you fight your first horde, and then you run like mad into the next bit, and then you're in the safe room and all's well with the world. And then it just gets progressively harder the way you go through it. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I'm now looking forward to this game. It is a Game Pass game, right?
Yeah,
yes, definitely. Yeah.
Fantastic. I don't have to buy it. I mean, I already pay Game Pass, so technically I'm paying anyway, but you know what? It just feels nicer.
Yeah, let's just be clear. It's not free because it's on Game Pass. We pay for Game Pass. We get it, as part of our package.
But quite frankly, all the games that you get on Game Pass, without sounding like a Game Pass fanboy, which I clearly am, but the fact of the matter is the amount of good games that we've had over the years, quite frankly, the amount
it feels like it's free.
We're getting, it almost feels like it is free, you know. So, but I mean, Left 4 Dead. I mean, I've just said it. It is Left 4 Dead, as you said, and I think we're all going to sort of echo that same sentiment. It is Left 4 Dead. There's no question, and obviously the developers are the ones that developed the original, if not the second one, if I remember rightly. I know it's all attributed to Valve, but there's quite a few developers who were key, and another developing company that actually started off the actual Left 4 Dead game and then was taken up by Valve, who then sort of published it and everything else and contributed to its completion. And you can clearly see that in the game, and it is literally. But I've been playing Left 4 Dead for all of them, and I've absolutely loved them. And I was saying this, I still play Left 4 Dead 2 occasionally, put it on, I play with my son, I sometimes play with other people, and we just play and have great fun because it is a solid, it's all about, it harks back to the old style of gameplay where it's just fun. It's a mechanic. You go from you start at the beginning of the level and you have to get to the end, and there's like a director trying to throw things at you, hordes and special zombies, and you have to work as a team to get to the end, and you get to the end and there's like a big boss battle or event, and then you get out of the level, and that's what it's all about. And Back for Blood is exactly the same. And when I say exactly the same, it's almost like playing Left 4 Dead 3. It should be called Left 4 Dead 3 because that's what it is. But it is done ridiculously well. I have to say, graphically, it's not pushing the boundaries. We're not seeing like super
but it's
graphics.
Really pretty.
But yeah, exactly. I was going to say it doesn't detract from the fact that some levels we walked into, like the one going through kind of the wood swamp area. There's this fog coming down because we had a special event mist, didn't we? And it's just like you're going through these trees and you get water.
It's creepy as balls, man.
It really was. And then we came out into that field and there was those buildings and the sun was coming down through the clouds.
Yeah.
And it did look really nice, really, really special. And some people are going to look look at it with a fine-tooth comb and kind of go, a fine-tooth comb? With a magnifying glass, and look at it and go, well, yeah, it's not got this level of detail.
It's already happening.
I didn't feel that. I know the Sony fanboys, because they're not getting it for free, are a bit upset. So they're slagging off something.
Hang on a sec. We're not getting it for free either. We're paying Game Pass. That was my point of steering in there, because I have seen some hatred come in that way.
But the fact of the matter is, I could not look at it and say this is an ugly game, because it really, really isn't. It does it very well, and it looks really nice. The elements that they've added to the game, which are definite improvements from the original Left 4 Dead, are stuff like the upgrading of weapons. There's much more choice in the variety of weapons. You haven't just got your 3, which is assault rifle, shotgun, and sniper. You do have those classes, but you do have lots of different weapons and level up systems, which is, kind of the same as like games like Division, but you're not having to. You kind of find things that you can add on. It's that I'm not saying it's the same as Division. It's got that same kind of mechanic, and
an extended mag, add a silenced barrel. So subtle things that just change the feel of the guns a little bit.
It gives you
definitely
variety.
Some of them that really make a massive difference to the way the gun. Well, I remember changing one of the sights, and it changed, and like one of the stats, it didn't really seem like a big deal. So it massively upped my firepower. But like what you guys know, the auto lock on the sniper rifle was neg. I was like left trigger, right trigger, left trigger, right, left, and I was just popping zombies all over the shop. But as soon as I put that different sight on, it massively slowed the ADS speed, and I was like, I can't use that sight. No way. I'll sacrifice the damage for the speed of the ADS all day long on that gun. It just doesn't feel good. I need to have that balance, and that was
but the variety and the choice definitely made you feel like you could
they were tangible differences.
Exactly. Really nice I'm going to specialize in this type of loadout, and we were talking about everybody trying to have a different gun, so we weren't all going for the same ammo, because obviously sometimes ammo can be at a premium, and it didn't always work out. At one point, I think 3 of us had assault rifles, but we wanted to try out. We wanted to try out the different weapons, and I'm still sorry that I took that AR off you, Phil. But I'm not sorry, because I wanted to try it out. But there was
I switched over to the SMG, didn't I?
You just sounded so sad when I said I wanted it, and you were like, well, I've still got this crappy old gun from before, but I'll keep it then. And you sounded so sad. But anyway, but I have to, so that's all really, really good. What else was I going to say about the actual game itself? I think no, I'll let somebody else take over.
I say one of the things I was going to say, like on that, just one thing that you did mention was I loved some of the we encountered a couple of things last night with these new tangible like moments in gameplay. Like so that the one mission, the first time we actually failed as a team, which was surprising. It was the first time we failed as a team because we're not exactly the most coherent team. Was we had to
morning.
we had to evacuate over the ferry and stuff. Yeah. And as we got there, like Phil takes a massive spectacular just nosedive off the thing into death.
We've already run halfway across.
We're halfway across. They go run across the bridge. Run. And Phil's like, "Where's the bridge?" Died.
Basically, I went left. Everybody else went right.
And then Craig goes, "Oh, we're going this way. I'm hanging off the edge. I'm going to die." Oh, okay. And then we all just died horribly. And then we realised that maybe the thing here wasn't to hang around and fight; it was to run. So the next time we did it, we all moved quickly and did that. But then we got to the end of that thinking, we've done it. We got this here. Phil jumps on a minigun expecting to have a horde come at us. And instead of a horde coming at us, they were like, here's some explosives, go sink the ferry. So we had to go pick up the explosives and then run back in, plant these explosives, fight our way back out of the ferry and come in.
That's such a good feeling.
And it was like really cinematic, really epic, really, really fun. And that's a tangible like improvement from the old Left 4 Dead games. And they've not just gone Left 4 Dead works, let's modernize the shooting and give it nicer graphics, and do that. They've actually tangibly looked at it and gone, we need to like give it a better, bigger, tangible like jump. I'm using tangible a lot here, but it really feels like a different. It feels like the same game but improved in almost every.
I think
respect.
It's definitely the end parts, isn't it? Because at the end of like Left 4 Dead, you knew that the ending was basically horde rush. It was basically trying to outlast the zombies that it threw at you until the helicopter or the boat or the car.
And there are still those moments. They've kept those. They haven't abandoned that.
Yeah.
But it's a way they've implemented that mechanic as well. Like that, also the mission we did where. Once we lifted the car, we had to run up the hill. Now, the first time we tried that, we were standing and fighting. And then Alan goes, "Are we going?" And we're like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, it's gone." And we're like, "We can move? Why did no one tell us this? We were just popping zombies."
We'd be camped out on top of the bus, hadn't we? Just wasting them.
Exactly. And then we started moving. And by that point, we realized we basically let them get too entrenched. And it was almost impossible to get where we needed to go. So we learned our lesson. We regrouped, did it again. And we succeeded the next time. But even that wasn't like a walk in the park. It was a lot of like, "Oh my god, swearing and God, he's been stuck."
Also, I like I liked the revive mechanic. So like when you go down, obviously you can go back and revive people, and it uses up one of your like medical supplies. But if you don't get back in time, what happens is that person's lost, and then you find them a little bit further on in the mission, and they'll be like, I don't know, staked up on a cross, or they'll be glued to the wall or something, and then you have to save them from there. So you can't it's not like just once they're gone completely, and then
so that mechanic, Phil, is actually from the original Left 4 Dead, except for in the original Left 4 Dead, you used to find them in like a safe room. You'd find them in a room a little bit further on. So that's taken directly from that, and it also has the same mechanic where you have a defibrillator, so you can actually use the defibrillator once they're physically dead to bring them back. And I don't think we ever used that once, but you can go up to their body.
Mainly because I think when people died, it was either a team wipe or the only other 2 deaths we had was both of you guys did it, and one and on both instances, which you basically walked off an edge you shouldn't have walked off. Went out of the playable zone, and there's no way to res you. So I mean, I absolutely love it. Like Alan said, the gun mechanics and the upgrades were really, it's a really nice touch. You know, they I was using the sniper rifle. I loved it. I do want to try it on the high difficulty to see if that auto aim is a little less snappy, because I have my complaints. I'm not going to say it's perfect, and we don't stand here and just sing praise it. I'm certain my complaints aren't a reason not to play it. The game was hella fun, and I will play it even if this isn't. But I will say the auto aggression was super aggressive.
But we're not sure.
I'm not sure if we were playing on
because we were playing it on easy, weren't we? So it may be that it accentuates that auto aim because
I hope
you're on easy.
They reduced that because it was like I could literally go left trigger, right trigger, left trigger, right trigger, left trigger, right trigger.
And I was just
like zombie dead.
I'm a terrible shot, so I liked it. I was kind of like,
I don't get me wrong though.
I literally had to go to my sights and fire, and I was already on my target. When you've got multiple targets, it doesn't work quite so well. But if it's just one, it's literally I don't need to aim. But I see where you're coming from.
But I genuinely, my problem is it was so aggressive, you don't even need to engage with it, really, to be fair. But by the same token, and there was a couple of points where I was looking at something, but because there was a zombie closer that I couldn't see, it locked me onto that zombie that I couldn't see through walls and stuff. So there was definitely some issues with it.
Also, I had some problems like when we were trying to shoot, for example, the gas tanks and the barrels. Like I was trying to look at the barrels, and what it would do is it'd lock onto the zombie, and then I'd be trying to drag it back, and then it might then pick another one out, which was kind of annoying.
So it's not without its faults, but it's also I genuinely had a great time playing it. My only one complaint from the whole of last night's session was that last encounter completely bugged on us, and we know it completely bugged on us 100%. And it really spoiled. What should have been a really epic
end battle,
really tough fight.
I was sitting there on the top because it was my turn to use the chain gun, wasn't it? I was like, can I use the chain gun? And I'm sat up there at the top, and I'm waiting for these hordes to come, and you're putting the shells in the howitzer and trying to blow the tunnel down, and just nothing happened. Like two zombies running out.
There's epic guns left and right, and there's ammo everywhere.
But it is a beta,
and I'm just jogging across with a little. Oh, here you go. Here's the howitz around.
It was just. I mean, again, that is my one. sorry. Don't check the WhatsApp chat. It just flagged up on my screen. Craig's being funny. Sorry, just. But yeah, my one complaint would be that spoiled that experience a little bit. But having said that, that was a hella fun experience. And I just on that reference, what you said about the graphics and people picking fault in it. People are picking fault going, it's obvious. I saw one tweet and it was like, it's obvious why this is going on Game Pass. And they were just citing the graphics. It's like, if that is how you're judging this game, because you've looked at some screenshots or some video footage and it's poor graphic implementation, like you're looking for an excuse to hate on what is a great experience that's been finely crafted about gameplay. And don't get me wrong. You know, I'm not saying that it's perfect and the gameplay is exactly as it should be. Like I said, the auto aim's a little bit too aggressive, etc. The point is though that I absolutely had a blast of it, and Left 4 Dead was never the prettiest game on the planet. Left 4 Dead 2 was never the prettiest game on the planet, but what Left 4 Dead was great at was getting your 3 of your mates on or more of your mates on and setting up a game and having a blast. Like the amount of times where you hear a witch in Left 4 Dead 2. Now, I don't know if there's an equivalent in Back 4 Blood.
I started to feel that. Wasn't there the one that did like did the spit that kind
the leaper
you trapped? That he kind of made like a clicking
the spit one
noise, and you could kind of hear that.
I said to you about audio cues, right? Like at one point I said, once we learn the audio cues, it'll be better. But there was the witch was one of those audio cues that always lives with me because you'd hear her crying. Yeah, and everyone would be like, as soon as you heard that, you'd be the witch, because everyone would suddenly go quiet and be like, right, where's the witch? torches off. You can't shine your torch in her face. It was a great mechanic, and you'd be sort of sneaking around trying to find the witch and get that one clear headshot just to put her down before she summoned the horde. And I said, once we get those mechanics down, and maybe we explore further, and there are more enemy types, you know, I think this is a game which will just bring that kind of flavor back. And Left 4 Dead 2 is still played by a lot of people, like Alan said, he does, and I would play more if more of my mates were on. We've often talked about, we should have a game of Left 4 Dead. It's just great because of its gameplay, not because of its graphics, not because of anything like that. And if you are judging an entire game on like graphical prowess only, then you are doing it wrong. Because as we said on the difficulty discussion or anything like that, a game should be fun. A game's purpose is to entertain you and be fun. And Left 4 Dead did it perfectly. Back 4 Blood is giving me more of that with some fun new mechanics that make the game more interesting, more enjoyable, and more in-depth. It was literally everything I wanted from a Left 4 Dead sequel.
I can, as somebody who's an absolute graphics whore, like I always love the prettiest, like, you know, I spent thousands on gaming PCs over the years. To my shame, I haven't kept my current one up to date. I really need to get on that. But yeah, I felt like if that game was, I don't know, it wasn't 4K, it was 1080p, for example. Yeah. You know what?
Wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter. Like, the only thing I would ask for in that game is I'm pretty sure it's 60 frames, and I like that because it felt smooth.
Yes.
But I wouldn't really care if I was shooting at Minecraft blocky creatures if it played smoothly like that, because it just felt like a really good team. There's bits, you know, going back to that bit we were clearing through the woods, and like I went left with Craig, and you and Alan went right, and it's literally Craig's like, right, I'm going to crouch. I was like, right, okay, I've got you covered, and we were working as a team going through there, taking about.
I think that was the one point where we were really cohesive. We split into two teams going different ways round. We actually looked like we knew what the hell we were doing, just for a brief second.
A crack squad.
And that actually just reminded me of something, just very quickly, which I kept commenting on throughout the night, and I have to bring it up here before we move on because it was such a highlight for me in terms of the game. The level design in this game is so standout good. There are so many good things about it, like from the aesthetics of it, the way they've put together like the fields of movement, and the fact that when you're walking through the swamps, it's not just here's your path. It's like there are multiple paths you can take, and they will all contain, you know, the zombies, and they will all have different things. And one might have a bigger zombie or a bad zombie in it, and you won't know about it till you walk past it. You might get you from behind then, or you split up, and you can carry. It's just so well crafted in that respect. That I have to give it issues. Oh, and one other thing, talk about like those moments about gameplays. That safe room that wasn't safe when we got to it, we had to reinforce the safe room. Was a great like change.
That was nearly our second wipe of the evening.
Because Left 4 Dead, Left 4 Dead 2 and Left 4 Dead were always about like get to the safe room safe, and this was like got to the safe room. Why aren't we safe? And and all hell broke loose. Like
we nearly went down in that church. I think it was a church, because we were desperately trying to board up the windows so that we could actually have a safe room. And we also haven't mentioned the ogre, which is kind of when that ogre came out of the ground, and we were just like, do we fight it? Do we run? And I think you've probably seen it in the trailer if you've watched it. This massive zombie.
I would say, like, I've got to say, and I think the ogre was a great design. I think on the easy difficulty that we played it on, the ogre was a non-threat. Yeah. It was a non-threat, especially once you got that LMG, because you got that LMG and just basically vaporized it. Right? So, I mean, that's not to say I promise you that on a high difficulty level, it'd be like, everybody run, don't stop, run, just don't do anything but run, you know. I can see how that will be a much more challenging gameplay, I think, on a hard difficulty. But like, but talking about the things like those encounters and the level design, and the level design, as Craig said, it feels very organic. Everything flows, everything should be there. It doesn't feel like a thing plonked somewhere or they've forced something in. It feels like a real environment. It feels natural. It feels great.
And there's always
the environmental modifiers like the fog, like you were saying, Alan. All that stuff plays into fantastic level design that makes you want to explore it, but cautiously and tactically. Everything about this game in terms of gameplay is really hitting me right at the minute. Yeah, okay, it ain't the prettiest game in the world, and that's not to say it's an ugly game, as you said. But let's just focus on what it does well in terms of gameplay. My God, it was fun. And that's all I care about. It's what I wanted from Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead was always about fun.
It's astounding. Twice in one podcast, I couldn't agree with Ratley more. I've said this many times before.
I didn't even plan this either.
Graphics are important. They really, really are, because I think you look at a pretty game, you look at Red Dead Redemption 2 and you're like, oh God, wow, that is such a beautiful game. And you spend more time taking pictures than you actually do playing the bloody game. And that's a great thing. It really, really is. Some of the fidelity of these engines that these developers make is phenomenal. However, the most important key element to any game, in my humble opinion, has always been gameplay. And while we keep saying it's not the best looking game in the world, I not once did I walk around that game and think, oh, that looks a bit dodgy. The only thing I had an issue with at the beginning was that I felt the saturation was too high. I had my brightness and saturation all the way down to nothing, and it was still too bright. And I wanted, there wasn't enough depth in the brightness for in the actual.
Yeah,
that was my only complaint. But overall,
I had a few zombie textures that were a bit off and cheap.
But again, it's a beta.
Again, and again, that's if I go up to it and stick my face in it and go, that isn't good enough. But if I'm talking about like in-game play, as I should be doing it, moving past it, shooting it,
and the areas
to the next thing, it looks great. It looks great.
It looks really nice. It does look nice. It's just not. You're not looking at Senua's Sacrifice or Hellboy and thinking.
And like you said though, I think as well, when you talk about like worlds and environments, before we move on, because I know we've got to crack on. But when you talk about worlds and environment, the Left 4 Dead world shouldn't have to be super detailed and immersive like something like Red Dead 2, because Red Dead 2 is supposed to, you're supposed to inhabit and live that world and spend every moment clawing over all the little details, because that's a world you're supposed to just be completely sucked into. Whereas Left 4 Dead is about like get in there, kill zombies, get out. That is the Left 4 Dead game loop. It's not the same thing. They shouldn't have to worry about it. It looks good enough to do what it does. It plays phenomenally well. Shame we had that one bug on the big boss fight moment. But I think other than that, I've got nothing. But they've
got until the end of October to sort it. I believe it's coming out at the end of October now. Super excited for it, and I hope we can all get back together again. Maybe if we can do some sort of stream. But yeah, definitely excited for the release of that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. And don't forget, usually betas are a couple of months behind in terms of build time as well. So they've probably already fixed those issues. Yeah. So we do have a couple of news articles this week, which I'd like to talk about. And I'm going to switch it up because we spent a little bit more time talking about Back 4 Blood. So I'd like to go to Chris.
It's awesome.
Because it's awesome. It's
killing zombies.
Time well spent. Do not get me wrong. So I'm going to go to Chris for the first article, because you've got a bit more news about Blizzard and their idiocy. I mean, if you can talk about it.
I'm going to save my sweary rant for later, because there is going to be a sweary rant later. This one, just like, so we've had more departures at Blizzard. The Diablo 4 director, level designer, and the World of Warcraft designer have all left under this cloud of toxicity,
sexual harassment,
and
lawsuits.
Yeah,
let's not forget that.
And the question Phil poses at the beginning of the purge, and I think what this is, mate, is partially. I think there's probably also just like they're trying what I think Activision and Blizzard, as we talked about last week, are trying to do is get rid of people so they don't have to change their culture and their contracts. As we said, like that big thing that we've all got the beef with is not that. I mean, we've got the beef that it happens, but it's the fact that there is like effectively a gag on all the employees about not being able to speak out about it, and
that isn't coming from those guys that have left. Let's not forget that a very, very common practice by some of these big companies when something like this happens is to find a suitable scapegoat. And these guys aren't scapegoats. This is a much bigger issue than
I think last week's ones were probably scapegoats.
But I think they're jumping before they're pushed, in a sense. They're trying to get rid of or get away from the issue. But the issue is so much more fundamental. Yeah. It's more inbred into the culture of Blizzard and into their policies. Somebody very high up made these policies, and they have been integrated into all their systems of HR and how they deal with these issues. And that is the real problem. Until we see significant change there, nothing has changed. You can change the whole top management structure. Won't make any difference. If the rules are still the same, it's still the same culture 100%. With the same issues.
Me and Alan are agreeing on everything this week, but I couldn't agree more. Mate, this is absolutely what needs to happen here. Is that you need to get away. You need to get rid of the toxic people 100%. So if these are people who are responsible for any of this abuse and this system, absolutely get rid of them. But we also need to see real change in how the company deals with this moving forward, and that means that we need to see them take away these clauses that say, employees can't speak out about abuse, or they don't. The only course of recourse is an internal investigation, which is then basically our rule. Deal with it. If you don't get the result you like, tough. You can't do anything more with it. No course of appeal. That's absolutely nonsensical. those are that's the key issue that has led to this. If you just get rid of a load of abusers, in time the abusers will come back because they know it's a place they can get away with their abuse,
and that's why it needs to change to do it.
Exactly that, and just by firing these people, you send the wrong message to both people who want to abuse and people who are being abused. You tell people who want to abuse, come here, you'll get away with it for X amount of time, and then you'll just get let go when we find out. But it won't really be any negative consequences to you. And then you get to the people who are being abused, you let them know we don't really care. You know, as long as we make our money, you can suffer for us as much as we want and we feel is financially viable. It's a bad practice. It won't improve unless they make those changes at a proper, company level and realize that people are not machines and can't just be replaced with a newer model and know things. Because like I say, all we're going to do is we'll circle around, and those toxic people that do remain, who were the lower down the tier, will slowly creep up, and the toxicity will just return in time as it goes up. And that's just how it works. We see it time and time again. It's human nature, sadly. But
I think
we need to see real change in these guys.
There's another element that I'm also interested in, and not moving too far away from Blizzard, but as an industry standard, it kind of interests me because these people that have left, what's going to happen to them? So are they just going to move to another developing, another company, another publisher? Are they just going to get another job somewhere else? And the question is
they'll probably end up at Ubisoft because they're safe,
That's the point, isn't it? It's like, is this problem more of an industry problem than a Blizzard problem? And Blizzard certainly has its issues. And quite frankly, as I said last time I was on, or might have been in the chat because I forget, but the point is this isn't the first time Blizzard have been in the spotlight for doing crap stuff like this, because they're more interested in their shareholders, and they keep getting away with it, and they do change this and they change that, or enough time passes that everybody forgets, and they say this sorry and they move on, and exactly the same thing carries on, and the people might leave their jobs and then they get hired by another developer with exactly the same job, and things carry on as normal, and everybody thinks, and it doesn't change. And that's the point. We need change in the industry, with Blizzard, with other publishers, to acknowledge that this is unacceptable and it shouldn't be tolerated.
Activision Blizzard have a moment to show and lead the charge on this if they really want to. If they want to be a great company, they could be the spearhead of the movement.
They could be the poster child. Like, this is how we operate in the gaming industry. Everybody is paid fairly. We don't force overtime on them. We do not tolerate racism and abuse. And
we're not going to try and cover it up to make ourselves look good.
I mean, did you know what? So I was doing a bit of research on this before we were going to have this topic, and I came across a web article that I read that was basically the downfall of Blizzard over the last 3 years, and the fact their reputation is effectively in tatters. And there's a couple of kind of key things I picked up on there. So, like 2018, was it Mike Morhaime stepped down after 27 years. He was the executive producer, I think, for World of Warcraft at the time, and co-founded the studio, and he kind of stepped down. And then same year, they did the Diablo Immortal outrage, and everyone hated them for that. They killed, Heroes of the Storm, had like a really strong pro scene, and they basically just killed that off. 2019, there was an issue with HR basically not stopping racist bullying. So even back in 2019, Blizzard were mired by these issues going on, and that all blew up. That was right at the start of 2019.
But their solution to that was actually to get HR to say you can't go outside of the company to complain about this shit.
Yeah,
that was their solution to that problem.
Yeah, then same year, laid off 800 employees. Then
they play Bobby Kotick like the biggest bonus ever after laying off a load of employees. Like, it was one week, it's like, we've got to let all these people go, and then the next week it's like, I'm making millions.
Yeah, and then there was Frank Pierce, another co-founder of Blizzard. He stepped down after 28 years in 2019. Then there was the Liberate Hong Kong Hearthstone player back in 2019. They got rid of him as well.
Sorry, can I just take a step back there? When you say step down, what you mean is they no longer do the job within the company, but they still get paid.
They left the company.
They leave, don't they? They leave,
right. But they're still on the shareholders, right? So they're still on they're still getting financial.
I would imagine it depends.
Depends on how they leave.
Being asked to step down is never a good thing. That's essentially, when you're asked to step down or you step down, generally it means you're about to get fired, and they've given you the option to leave under your old.
And normally, I would totally agree with that. But if you're a co-founder of a company, then you have
you're probably
you're a shareholder.
Getting taken care of, mate. He's probably getting taken care of.
Exactly. That's the point.
But nonetheless,
when we say leave,
get out.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't have to go to work today, but I'm still living in a multi-million-pound mansion and doing what the hell I like. I feel for you.
Yeah, it's not the downer to be on me or you losing their job, mate. Don't get me wrong, but that these people have got enough money in the bank that they probably make off. In 1 year they've made more money than we'll see in our life.
Yeah.
But it is a thing of like they get like and you're right, they get like taken care of. They get like a golden handshake, as they call it, or whatever you want to call it, whatever the term is, and they just go, look, there you go, see you later. But it is like this. I think like you were saying, Phil. You just look at the list of things, and I'll be honest, like
I'm not done. I've got more.
I mean, do you need to go on like at this point?
Please do. No, I want to hear the rest of the list actually. Chris.
So, end of 2019, free speech protests outside BlizzCon.
Yeah, I remember
that. Then the next kind of one, there was another one with a Hearthstone pro. He was blacklisted by Blizzard after his wife was laid off, apparently, from the company.
Heard about that as well.
Then there was Alex Al-Frazabi. He left Blizzard as well. He was another one of like the big kind of tentpole guys that steered World of Warcraft. Left, asked to move on. What else did I have? There was a spreadsheet that came out that basically documented the salaries.
Yes.
That highlighted how low the pay was. So that leaked out and the press got hold of it and they got absolutely taken to task over that. Yet we're still here in 2021 talking about people underpaid and overworked. Then there was
there's more. Jesus, it keeps
they hired. They hired somebody who worked on the Trump and Bush government era as well.
That's the lady, the girl you got in
Frances
trouble.
Townsend. That was her name. I've just seen it on here. Yeah,
she was in the Bush, and she was in charge of she was the one who denied the torture of waterboarding.
Homeland Security Advisor. That was what she was. Yeah.
Yeah, you really want her working at your company?
She did what she was paid to do because she denied there was any sexual harassment, down flat, and said it's complete rubbish and they're talking nonsense. So obviously she did what they paid her to do. So
to be fair.
Then April this year, Jeff Kaplan left. He was the lead designer for Overwatch, so he's gone. And then that brings us to the present day, which is being sued for discrimination and sexual harassment.
And that's my point.
Yeah. 3 years of
downfall. A culture of a company that refuses to change, keeps pushing people out the door saying they're the problem and that's the issue, and nothing changes within the company and everything carries on as normal. That is the problem. It's been going on for years, and just this new scandal, they need to change something significant.
It's the straw, isn't it? It's the straw that broke the camel's back. I think the thing with me, and I'm not going to say that I got this right, because I don't think I did. I should have been more proactive with my. I don't buy a lot of Blizzard stuff anyway. To be fair, I've never really been big on their games as a whole, and that's not to say there aren't great games in that. I mean, like I say, Diablo 2 was one of the things I was most looking forward to in upcoming, and I'm not gonna have that in my list now. Yeah,
I think we've all universally agreed that we aren't touching.
We're not playing
Blizzard's games.
I'm totally on board because I totally sympathise, but it really, really hurts, boys, because I was so excited. For
mate,
I played Diablo 3 more than all of you combined. Yeah,
boys, absolutely. Just so you can see what you're missing.
No,
thanks, man. Yeah, Phil, so I am absolutely gutted.
It's just giving them airtime, and we're advertising their
more than anything. I want this to be resolved because I desperately want to play these games.
Absolutely.
They're not big because the people that developed them have put a lot of love and attention into them. It's the problem.
Because it isn't their fault.
It isn't their fault. The people who benefit from it, however, the shareholders and the company of Blizzard as a whole, they're the ones we're trying to say, no, we won't accept this. But the developers and the people that made these games, these works of art, these wonderful things, I can't play them because I have to make a stand. And it does hurt. It really does. And I just got to vote
with your wallet, boys.
And
I think Alan's right. It's going to hurt me to not play Diablo, but if we allow systemic abuse to go on, it will hurt a lot more people a lot worse. And I can't be party to that. But I was going to say, it's this thing of we just keep going around a circle, and maybe it is that I feel like a bit of a hypocrite because I didn't act sooner, or I feel like I should have done more. But there's definitely a straw that breaks everyone's back, and I think I didn't realize how bad it got until I heard about for me, in this instance, it was that the story of the woman who committed suicide on a work thing because her boss, who she was seeing, was sharing private images, and I'm just like. That happened at work. That happened on company time, and you wanted to sweep it under the rug. Excuse me? And I think that was the point where I was like, how can you let a situation get that out of hand where someone killing themselves is swept under the rug like it's normal.
Yeah.
You know, it was the point where I was like, I just can't with good conscience support a company that can switch off to humanity so obviously. And I mean, they've done it before, and I've missed it, but it was so obvious in that moment in time. I was like, holy, just like they literally only care about money. There is no like slight sliding scale with here. That Activision Blizzard's slider for what do we give two shits about, pardon my French, is dialed all the way to money and nothing else. You know, and I think that was that moment which solidified that for me. And I said to myself, I can't put my hand in my pocket and give these guys what they want, because all it does is reinforce their slider.
Their behaviour.
Keeping it up here, keeping that slider switched to money is fine, because it's not. It needs to be. I agree with Alan when he says, as he said before, companies need to make money. Okay, but companies shouldn't be making money at the expense of lives again and again and again and again. And I'm sure no company has completely clean hands. But at this point, Blizzard are so dirty that we just need to just assign them to the bin, essentially.
I guess I think, the final point on this is going to be vote with your wallet. We will not put money into Activision Blizzard because what they operate on is not right. We encourage you to vote with your wallet as well, as the listeners. That is the only way they will understand. If they start taking a hit on their profits, they will change what they're doing.
Even don't play the games you've got. I wanted to play Guitar Hero the other day, realised it was an Activision game. Put it away. Got out Rock Band instead. It's like, there you go.
Yep.
Oh, God. Wait a minute. City Skylines is an Activision, is it? Oh, no, it's okay. We're okay.
No, you're okay, mate. Don't worry, you're safe.
Yeah.
Panic over. So, my next news topic is a bit more of an interesting one. I'm very interested in this, which is why I'm doing it. You guys less so. But the question I posed to you, I think you'll be very interested in. So, Sony have just bought out Crunchyroll, which, for those of you who don't know, is an anime streaming service.
Always makes me hungry hearing that name. Sorry, just got to say that. Always
hungry for anime. That's what it is. It cost them $1.17 billion to buy that company.
Please, that's small fry. I mean,
it's not Bethesda money, but it's a streaming service for anime, which, let's be honest, is a niche market. It's not as niche as it used to be, but it's a niche market. But the interesting thing is Sony also own Funimation. Now, Funimation is the main kind of anime streaming service in the UK, and it has a lot of the dubs on there. Crunchyroll focuses more on subtitled stuff, and they are literally, if something comes out in Japan, it will be subbed and on their website within an hour. So that's their kind of big hook to it, and they have a much wider category than Funimation. Now, the reason I wanted to point this out is I thought this was really interesting because there was news a couple of months ago about Sony were looking at doing a rivaling platform to Game Pass, but their hook was going to be that they were going to include entertainment media in there as well. So they were looking at putting the Sony Studios movies, their TV shows in there. Now, they already own Funimation. They've now bought Crunchyroll as well. Now, anime is a huge, particularly in Japan, it's a massive thing. Like, it's all they watch basically over there. That's not true, but basically all Japanese people love anime, it seems. And, you can see that just by the billboards on the towers there. It's all anime stuff. All the advertising is anime style over there. So it got me thinking, is this, one of the steps to Sony's puzzle to fixing the Game Pass conundrum on PlayStation? They've got a good catalogue of games. I mean, they added in that PS5 collection on there, which I thought was fantastic and had pretty much all of their key games in there. They've got a massive back catalogue of PS4 and PS3 games through PlayStation Now. They've just bought up, they already owned, and they've just bought up the second biggest, or probably the biggest anime streaming service that's a paid one. And I mean, bearing in mind a subscription to that is about $6 a month, or it's like £7 in the UK or something. So that makes a hell of a lot of money for them as well, much like Game Pass. They bundle that in there. They put their games in there. They put their PS Now in there. Do they have a viable alternative to Game Pass that actually, rather than launching day one new games on there because they're worried it will lose the money, as said by old what's his chops who leads up PlayStation, said I'm not going to do it because it cost me money. Is this their viable alternative? They bundle everything in and they put it at the $10, $11 price, and it includes your PlayStation subscription service as well, your PS Plus subscription. Is this the way they go? What do you think?
Well, before I say anything else, I just want to say I'm a bit concerned about your conversion system. It's $6 or £7. I think you need to.
No, it's more expensive in the UK.
You need to check your conversions because the pound really isn't worth as much as the dollar. So I think
it's more expensive in the UK. You pay more in the UK than you do in the US.
Okay.
Sorry,
just make sure that's
it's not exactly that. But
Do you know? I mean, I think we've already discussed slightly about the fact that some of Sony's offerings, as far as them giving away their games on what's the service? I forget the name of the service.
It's PlayStation Now.
PlayStation
So
Now.
PlayStation Now gives the games away, and then
they've been given away for free.
Oh, and PS Plus. Sorry, PS Plus.
PS
gives you
Plus.
games away, isn't it?
It has some really good titles in it, and it's a great service for the PlayStation owners and everything else. Personally, myself. And we were touching on this a little while ago. We were talking about the fact that Netflix is going to be offering games as part of its service as well, which seems like a natural progression. And I'm not the first person to jump on change when it happens. When I buy Game Pass, I'm buying well, actually, I'm not, because you're paying for it, Phil. But that's not the point. But if I was paying it. My point is I'm paying for a game subscription service. If I want to watch anime and movies, then I will subscribe to an anime or movie subscription service. So it really depends on what model they're going to go with. If you're going to have tiers where you can pay for games and you can add something onto your monthly subscription and add this as an extra service that you can have within that service, what's the problem? I don't see any problem with that whatsoever. As you said yourself, I'm sure there's the market for anime. It's not for me. I do watch some anime a little bit, but nowhere near as much as you do, Phil. And I'm not.
Well, there'll be that new Arc series coming out, which kind of fits into that category. So I'm sure we'll be all over that.
I think I'd reference it more as a cartoon than an anime, but yeah, sure. I'm not sure what the difference is.
We're going to get lynched by a very large group of anime fans at some point. So
yeah,
we will not be releasing Alan's address.
Clearly showing that I don't understand the milieu, and it's not often I get to use that word, so I'm good.
Oh, I say big words. Yeah, that's the high school coming out, Alan.
Thank you very much. I'm from Oxford, don't you know? But yeah, so. But I'm not an expert in like anime and all the different sort of parts of anime. Hentai, I know Phil knows very well, but for general anime, I don't really understand. But I have watched some, and I love animation in general. I think it's a very underrated medium in the fact that we're still kind of, in a lot of ways, trying to get over this hill where it's not just for kids. It's just because it's a cartoon. I think there's a whole generation that still doesn't understand this, and they look at it and go, "It's a cartoon. It's a kids movie."
So much stuff, that is 18 plus rated. That
as we said, hentai. But
no.
Why do
you only know one word? It's not.
That's just all. I know it's not. I'm just taking
I will find something that you will like, and I'm going to find something.
Do you know what I think? I think Alan would really like the Guyver. I genuinely think Alan would really like
or something like Psycho Pass. That'd be right up his street.
And I probably would. And I've obviously I've watched what's that really famous one, Akira. I love Akira. I'm not sure I understand much of it. No, not watched any of that. But again, but we're moving slightly away from the subject matter here. And the fact of the matter is that as far as Sony buying Crunchyroll and adding it to their subscription service, I can't think it's anything but a good thing for the people who pay for that subscription and like that stuff. That's them. That's a good thing for them.
There's one more point I wanted to labour on that one. Not labour, actually. I'm going to be very quick on it. PlayStation are losing ground quite heavily in Japan. It's primarily moving over to Nintendo and mobile gaming. I believe I read the stat for something like they're almost down 50% on what they would have been previously on the PlayStation 4. And a lot of that will be down to potentially availability of PS5s, but actually it's just the market is changing over there. And that's the other thing that kind of led me to this thought is, they're very big on anime over in Japan. Are they including that into the service to then hook in a lot of this mobile? Because Crunchyroll do also have some like smaller mobile games and web browser games involved in there as well. They do actual live TV shows on there as well.
It's the same story. More bums on seats is a good thing, right? If they can entice more people to come into their service and see what else they've got to offer, that's a win-win situation, right?
Yeah, it made me wonder whether, part of this was their approach to get back to what was originally their key market.
It's possible, but at the end of the day, at this point, it seems like they're making more and more games targeted at North America. It feels like their focus has shifted to North America, which it seems bizarre. I mean, maybe it's
North America and Europe.
Yeah, maybe it's the thing they've taken their eye off the ball in terms of they feel that Japan will never desert them. They'll always be the premium console in Japan, which might not be forever if they don't invest in it. And maybe, like you say, Phil, they've looked at it and gone, we need to get something which will bring Japanese people back into the fold. I don't know.
So many of these good JRPG games are popping up on Nintendo Switch. Things like Fire Emblem and
I also think I also think that that's the nature of like the beast in terms of why it's shifting is more to do with the culture and the way that
I think
that people are consuming media. I think
you're on
the Switch moved into their culture far better than a PlayStation 5 would for most people. And like you say, availability is going to hurt it, but the fact that Switch is a carry around item, you can do anything you want. It's perfect. It does what it needs to do. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a bigger thing. I do think there's probably a little element of what you say, Phil. Whether or not it's a good move, I don't know. It always seems like when you dilute your offering and you're not being a games console anymore, you're being a media and games console, it kind of gets a bit wishy-washy. I think we can all reference TV to realise exactly how much of a bad idea is.
Xbox One.
And look at how well it went when they tried to diversify the games console there, and all the gamers went, excuse me, no, I want a games console. Get your TV out of it.
I don't need a media box. I want a games console. That's
don't get me wrong. If we'd have seen the Xbox One and it did all the media stuff on top of being a really great games console, and they focused on the games when they presented it, and went, oh, by the way, it does all this really cool TV stuff as well, you'd have gone, awesome.
But that's kind of a given now, isn't it? We do have all that. We do have the music, and we do have the DVDs, but it's just an accepted part of something you get in your games console. So,
but my point is giving anime the right way to lure people back onto a games console.
I think it's a different way to get people onto the subscription service. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the Western market, it's not. Look at the Japanese market, then maybe it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know enough, but maybe. But I wonder if it's the right thing to do, whether people will come to it if it's got more of the games they love instead of more anime. I don't know. I do not know, but we'll see. If whatever Sony's play is, they've obviously got a reason for wanting to buy Crunchyroll. Good luck to them. It's great if it does come into the service. Great for anybody who subscribes. They get more content for free. I'm not sure it's content. Well, I know it's content I wouldn't want. Phil would probably love it.
I was just about to say, this just gets validation to Phil actually buying a PlayStation 5 now, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't. No, because on Xbox Game Pass, as Game Pass Ultimate, as one of your perks currently, you can get 3 months free on Crunchyroll, which is exactly what I did because I'm a bit behind on anime, so I'm catching up.
So Phil has got it without needing a PlayStation. There you go.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's not forget, I also own a PlayStation 5 anyway, so they already got me.
Yeah.
I bought it for Horizon Zero, for Horizon Forbidden West, and they've delayed it.
And that's now been delayed. So it's basically...
Has that been
PlayStation is...
I didn't think that had been officially delayed yet.
No, they just haven't given a date. So we don't know when it's going to be. Yeah. So let's move on to the next news article. Now, I would like to profess a warning here, first of all. Okay. Rant incoming. Okay, are you ready for it?
If you have sensitive ears and bad language, some way offends the vicar, or the vicar's watching.
There will be bad language here. I try and avoid swearing on the podcast, but this is going to be one of those moments where I feel I'm entirely justified in my sweary rant. Okay.
I'm going to launch this with a video, and then we're going to talk about it.
We'll just give it a second. Ubisoft, All-Star Blast. Ubisoft, get fucked. Basically, this is. I mean. What?
You know what it's not? It's not Splinter Cell, but it's got Sam Fisher in it.
But you know what? Okay, so Ubisoft, stop taking your characters and bastardizing them and making rubbish games that nobody has asked for or wants, and thinking that this will get you we'll make it free to play so people will play it. No one wants to play this game. Just no. Ubisoft, stop being absolute bastards. Make the game people want. Free to play does not guarantee you success. It doesn't guarantee you bums on seats. Most of the gamers who see Splinter Cell or want to play a Splinter Cell experience. We don't want crappy mobile experiences with Splinter Cell characters. We don't want crappy mobile experiences with Ghost Recon characters or Ezio or anything like that. It's not gonna work. This is not what people want. You can't just keep doing this crap and expect people to buy it. They're not going to. It's just. Did you not hear the absolute cacophony of stick it up your ass that we heard when you launched, X-Defiant nonsense?
Yeah.
This is quite blatantly tone deaf by Ubisoft. There's this move with them. They've said they're going to do more free to play content. It's just stupid. They're doing exactly what other companies have done, which has always cost them. They're ignoring what people are telling them they want to make the cheapest and easiest route to market because they think if they can microtransaction monetize it, it will make money. And literally no one wants it. They'll get a few players for a few months and then nobody will play it. It's going to be another Hyperscape, etc. They need to just focus on making the games people want, and people will pay them good money. EA are learning this lesson now. Ubisoft need to pay attention to what's going on at EA with single-player games. They need to realise that people want good experiences. I don't mind if you make another Division and it's multiplayer but has a single-player core. I don't mind if the Splinter Cell has multiplayer elements but it's a single-player core. I don't care. And if you want to microtransaction these things, fine. But give me a proper game. A game I can see my TV. Give me a goddamn Splinter Cell game. You know? Right, I'm not even the biggest Splinter Cell fan, but give me a goddamn Splinter Cell game.
Okay, Chris, do you feel better now? Feel a little bit better? Oh, okay, well, I mean, I don't really think there's much more we can say on that point. Chris has summed it up.
I haven't really looked at the game. It looked a little bit like Bomberman with.
It is Bomberman. It's all it is.
It's just
which is a fun game. And basically, Bomberman is a fun game. You don't really need all that other crap and all the other characters to play it. I don't understand. Download it.
It's on Bomberman.
It's on. I think it's on Xbox Game Pass, or it's about £2 on Steam or something like that. You want to play Bomberman? Go and get one of those. Do not buy the Ubisoft crap. Don't give them the time.
This absolute BS. Like, Ubisoft, stick it up your ass. We're not interested. Make us a decent Splinter Cell game. Make us any decent Tom Clancy game. You should have learned your lesson with what? Breakpoint. Breakpoint flopped hard because you didn't make a Ghost Recon game. Stop it!
Somebody call Chris an ambulance.
I'm so angry.
Should we move on to the next topic, because I need Chris to calm down. I'm worried he's going to I can see the vein appearing on his head now. So
angry.
Moving on from that, Alan, you have some more cheerful news about the Elder Scrolls Online, I believe, don't you?
Do I?
I hope so. It says Alan next to it. I've got a video
console
for it.
enhancements are all.
Well, I've dropped the ball on this one, Phil. I'm going to assume that we're talking about the new enhancements on the Elder Scrolls Online. Some beautiful ray tracing. This was not on the playlist that I read, mate. This was not on that.
It's there, mate. I hate to tell you, but I can I say that is a great podcast moment with you guys have bad news. Do I?
Well, I mean, plenty of guests have done it before me, so I feel I'm entitled to actually not be prepared. Do you know what? I did say this the other day, moving on from my complete cock-up, but I did say this the other day, right? So I actually put Elder Scrolls Online on not that long ago when we were first talking about the new enhancements that were going to be to the game. And it'd been improved a huge amount from when it first came out. I don't know how long it's been out. It's been about 3 or 4 years now. And when it first came out, it was pretty basic. And then I put it on about 4 or 5 months ago. And the improvements that have been made to it graphically were really nice. It was a pretty game to play for an online MMORPG. And then New World has come out, and the graphics on that, quite frankly, are absolutely stunning. I'm blown away by how good looking graphically the fidelity on it for a game that's an online MMO is. And then you look at what they've done to the Elder Scrolls Online for the console, and it just looks absolutely stunning. It's just amazing how they can keep building on this engine and making it into a more graphically amazing looking game.
Can I ask a question here?
Yeah.
Just before you mention engine, Phil, is this the turd of an engine they're polishing?
Yes, it still is the same turd. What they've done is they've taken the polish that they put on the PC version of the turd and they've moved it onto the console version. So it is now a polished PC turd available on your Xbox.
Yeah. So it's obviously.
Fair, I mean, I did pause it there. They have added some cool stuff. Like they've put in the PC ultra textures. They've added the anti-aliasing from the PC. Obviously, the Series X frame rate plus, where they took it up to 60 frames, still remains, but they've just, for lack of a better phrase, vajazzled everything else in the game to make it look nicer. So you've got high-res textures in there.
And the loading times have been improved to take advantage.
Yes, they've taken full advantage of the new SSDs by recoding the loading.
I tell you what, of all the next-gen features, when they first announced patches and stuff, the one thing I never thought I'd be so excited to see was faster load times on games. But you become so accustomed to those like super quick SSD load times.
I commented on this the other day, Chris, because I was talking about the fact that I've been playing a lot more on my PC. And first, as much as I've got a beast of a PC, PC with a 3070 graphics card, it's just like the loading times are the first thing you notice. I've got an SSD in here as well, and it's just the difference between the loading times on the PC and the loading times on the Xbox, and quick resume as well. That thing is ridiculous. Exactly. I turned it on. I turned on Back for Blood last night. Bang, 1 second into the game. And it's just like, and then I load up City Skylines, and I'm sat here for 2 whole minutes. That's my life that's dripping by while I'm waiting for something to load. But it is amazing the capabilities of the Series X.
Do you know one thing on that quick resume thing? It always amazed me. And I forgot about this. The other day I had a friend come over. I just got a new sofa, and we had to load it in, etc. But he'd never seen a Series X in the flesh, because you don't just carry it around and show it to people. But when
it's a bit big.
Look, check this out. I was like, he actually comment was, oh, it's smaller than I thought it'd be. I was like, yeah, but check this out. So I unplugged it and handed it to him because it's such a dense console, right? As we discussed before. I was like, check that. And he's like, whoa,
she's a weighty gal.
It's a thing, isn't it? I was like, you know about it, right? And plugged it back in. Quick resume still works. I'm like, that's amazing. It's just absolutely amazing.
That kind of ties into something else, because when my rig starts going, I've given a lot of it's running something really graphically hard, then it starts to get really hot. It's like you can start feeling the heat come off it. And still with the Series X, no matter what it's running, you put your hand down there, maybe if it's been on for a couple of hours, there's a bit of heat, but that thing's like a fridge, and it's still silent. It's ridiculous.
Sounds like my sex life, mate, if I'm honest.
Well, yeah. I didn't like to say. But it's like, I can hear my fans kicking in, and it's like the noise in this room and the heat sometimes with the PC running a graphically tough game is like it's really pushing it to its limits. And then you put on your Series X, and it's just like, that's easy.
How quiet that is beyond me. Like,
that's the thing. It's the way they've kept it quiet, and they've used those really high quality fans in there as well. It's just a great bit of kit.
Well, what I say about playing Rock Band the other day, I was playing Lego Rock Band, and I had to put the 360 on, and it was playing on the 360. And I would never have said back in the day the 360 was particularly loud, right? And then I realized that I've been playing the 360 on, and the noise was there in the background. I'd had to turn the TV up extra loud to cover it. But I realized the whole time my Series X had just been on and sat there, and I didn't know it was on because I couldn't hear the thing because it's completely silent, and the 360 is deafening it compared to it. It's like, it's totally. Like you say, you appreciate that, but it's good to see that, like you say, these PC patches are being moved across and things like that. I don't play Elder Scrolls Online. As we discussed before the pod, I said, the CGI cutscenes always make me go, "Ooh, maybe I should look into that." And I look at it and go, "It's really not for me." But that looks great now, to be fair.
That just looks stunning. I mean, the thing is, my issues with Elder Scrolls Online are more to do with the gameplay mechanics that I have trouble getting onto it. Because I've said this many times before, when I want to play an MMO, my idea, maybe I'm just living in a different world, but MMOs work differently from how I want them to work. When I was a kid and I used to play Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, it's all about getting together with 3 of your mates, forming a party, maybe some more if you're actually quite popular, but we weren't. There was about 4 of us, and we used to play D&D, and you'd make up your character, and then you'd go on adventures together as a party, and you'd go and do stuff. And my dream was always to have a computer game, which is what Skyrim is, but for one person. And when they said, we're going to have an Elder Scrolls Online, I'm like, just imagine playing Skyrim, but you've got 3 of your mates, you've all made different classes and characters, and then you go on adventures, and it just doesn't work like that. It doesn't have the fact that you have the same instance and you can be in a party together and experience dungeons and quests, unless some of the bit later raids, as a team, as an adventuring party. And that really frustrates me, because that's not what I want. I want to play as a party of adventurers going on an adventure. But
that's a common problem with all MMOs, particularly early on. They put in loads of single player content, particularly at the start, because they want to teach you the different mechanics of it. So that the biggest problem you find, you get bored of an MMO within 10 to 20 hours. And actually what you usually find is that all the really good content in MMO is like 40 to 50 hours into the game, maybe more.
I'm making a commitment to New World to actually stick with it to get to the higher levels, so I can see that end content.
It's the problem with a lot of those type of games, isn't it? You have to you've got to spend that time and commit to get to the power level or whatever you want to call it. Like Division, it was gear score, whatever the thing is, where you have to and refine your gear so you can take on these tough challenges. But by that point, half your mates have got bored and have jogged on to play something else.
The whole MMO thing, it's not play it with your mates, it's play it with some random people online who are as committed as you are.
Who become your friends.
Yeah, New World, you've got to get to level 30 before you even hit the first dungeon. And then I think the level cap on that's 50. Final Fantasy 14, something I'm an avid fan on. I've put well over 2,000 hours into. Your first dungeon's at level 15, but actually the good content, the fun stuff is like level 50 and onwards when you get into the big 24-man raids and bits. And it's the same kind of story with most MMOs.
But that's fundamentally, as we say, that's the issue, because I don't want to play them on my own. I know that Ritzy, one of our friends, he's been playing Elder Scrolls for a while, but he plays on his own and he's happy to do that. But I don't. I want to have that experience with my friends, and trying to get people committed to play for that length of time to get to that content is really difficult. And hopefully, as I
also think, mate, it's a problem with when we get old and you have responsibilities as well. Getting everyone together to commit that time is difficult, it is.
Try to do
look how difficult it was for us to schedule a podcast. Exactly. Just the four of us, But
going back to like the Elder Scrolls upgrade, I mean, I have to say, obviously not having been prepared, because I didn't press read more on the text that you said, so I missed that completely, which is the first time. Come on, boys, in nearly a year.
No, Alan, you are usually very prepared. To be fair, you are. Usually
we're going to let it slide. It had all the relevant info in the video.
I'll be honest, Alan, it was worth it just for your
exactly. Exactly. It added an extra comedy element, so it was it's fine, and we're talking about it. But I have to say, looking at what was on screen there, again, as you said, polishing a turd. It has to be said, all credit to them. They've taken a game that started off very basic and now looks up with the current gen. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Not sure it's going to make me want to go in and play it some more, but all credit to them. The changes and the upgrades they've made are just phenomenal. That game looks beautiful.
That game is a chrome-plated, highly shined turd right now. As far as turds go, it looks.
I like the fact you'll only go up to, in metals, you'll only go up to chrome. We won't. No platinum or gold. No chrome. Chrome, that's your level.
You got to start changing the structure of the turd at that point. Whereas you can just chrome plate the turd and it still looks like a turd. It's still a turd. So that's all the news we've got for this week. However, as I surf the world of the internet, I came across a couple of interesting things. I just wanted to show you guys. Now, they haven't been prepared for this, so they're very short and sharp things.
Oh, so that's familiar. I'm used to that now. Not being
prepared. Indeed. So the first thing I came across was the Forza Horizon 5 map. And this is what
I sent you this.
Yeah.
You did, yeah. And
you didn't come across this on the internet. I sent you this.
Well, specifically, what I came across was the stats that this map is 50% bigger than the map they used in Forza Horizon 4 of the UK.
Mad.
So yeah, I was just about to say, because it's hard to see the comparison because it's lines on a green map, So, but 50% bigger, that's pretty impressive. Because 4 was I think it was about the same size as number 3, a little bigger, wasn't it? But it was a fairly good sized map. And I mean, I harken back to the old days of Test Drive Unlimited, where you could drive across the entire island of Ibiza. I love that game. And I look back and I think, it'd be great if they had a map that was that big again. And I always felt like the Forza games didn't quite push on that. But quite frankly, looking at this, it seems like they are starting to push on that kind of scale. And that
you're not worried about now, though, don't you? The Goliath race that will inevitably be at the end of the campaign is going to be a lap of the entire map, and it's going to take you like 25 minutes to 30 minutes.
Time to get those finger exercises in. We're going to have to strengthen up those fingers so we're not getting cramp.
Oh no, Phil, you've got a paddle set up and you've got a full driving wheel, haven't you?
I have indeed, actually.
Yeah, so you say that Phil's got it easy. Phil will be dying on controllers, and Phil will just be like tap, tap, tap. Pedal down.
Yeah, because for my job, I also spend a considerable amount of time driving, so I'm sort of attuned to the seating position. Although what inevitably happening is halfway through the lap, I'm going to need to go for a pee. So you'll just see me pulled over on the side while I've nipped behind a bush.
Mate, that reminds me of there was an achievement which I never got in Rock Band called the Bladder of Steel Award, and the thing is you had to play the whole Rock Band set list. Like in one go, no pauses, no fails, nothing. So if you started it and you fail on the last song, the really tough song, you fail it. Or if you have to run to the loo, like there were literally guides online where if you're doing it as a band, when are the moments that each band member can run to take a toilet break, and depending on the which toilet break situation was, which was the optimum song to take the break in, and how long you had exactly before your instrument came back. I was wow, that is
and that's super crazy. Impressive. One of the things I was just thinking about the map there as well, though, was the fact that we've obviously previously seen the videos of like all the graphical fidelity and how realistic it looks. But one of the things I remember about number 4, and it's not that much of an issue, but it kind of like sometimes the transitions between the different areas seemed not quite as smooth because you obviously it's quite compact. So there's the desert area and there's the forest area, and I can't help feeling with a map that's exponentially 50% bigger, their different areas are going to be much more smoothly transitioned. You're going up to the snowy region, and it will get slowly more snowy until you get full snow. That would be something more realistic, and definitely something that
wasn't 4 seasons though, didn't it? It literally change the seasons, wasn't it? It was
changed the entire map based
I
on
love that. I love that. I'm hoping that's going to be a number 5. But I doubt it. But
I think they'll do more regionalized stuff. So as you're going up to the mountains, you'll get that lovely snowy effect and the ground deformation on the snow.
So instead of changing each week to a different type of season,
they'll set the races in the seasonal areas.
It'll be the rainy part of the map or the snowy part of the map. That's a nice idea.
Yeah. So I think that's very cool. So that was the first cool thing I came across, which, like Ratley said, he did. I just found out a bit more stats on it. Now, the second thing I wanted to show you was a little video that I came across. Now, I don't know how long this has been about. So this is Zelda Breath of the Wild. Not a new game by any stretch of the imagination, but this is it running on PC at 8K with ray tracing. God, doesn't that look good?
Phil, what you're saying is basically this is you trying to bully Nintendo into releasing Breath of the Wild on something that isn't the Switch, isn't it?
Aha! You've seen through my thinly veiled attempt at suggesting that they should do this. Here's the thing, right? So I don't like piracy. I'm not a fan of it. I think if somebody makes a good game, I want to spend the money. So I'm never going to play this on PC because I'd have to go through downloading an emulator and downloading a ROM, and then Nintendo don't see the benefit of it. So I just want them to release it on PC looking like this so I can buy it and pay them some money to keep making games like this.
Sadly, the fidelity on the actual video is not good for. I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but for me, it's not great.
It's looking okay, but
I'm finding it hard.
It's not doing it justice.
I can kind of see the beauty, but as you said, it's not really doing it justice.
I do apologise.
Yes, I can't really see, but I'm interested because I'm watching some videos, and there's something like Skyrim. Let's go back to Skyrim, right, where somebody has done like in the Unreal 5 engine and stuff like this, and there was one where they'd done all the like 2,500 mods, and it looks amazing. And you put it on, and you watch the video, and you see the character. And all the enhancements are amazing. The actual detail and everything else in the environment looks fantastic. And all you do is you watch 30 minutes of somebody walking. That's all the video is. And it doesn't show you anything, any gameplay. Now, I'm actually, at the beginning, it didn't really show anything because the environments on their own look great as far as I can see with the quality of the video, but it's got a very unique artistic sort of take on
it's almost
like
that
slightly cel-shaded, but the first part of the video, the actual environments almost looked like they were realistic with the cel-shaded person in them. So I wasn't sure how it was going to look, but to be honest, now that I'm talking and it's playing there, it looks all right. I mean, it's not,
I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to kind of cover what you just did and say. It looks great. It is entirely relevant because Breath of the Wild plays superbly and it looks fantastic on the Switch. It's stylized to the point. It does not need to be 8K. It does not need ray tracing. It looks great regardless, and it plays superbly. I want it. but Phil, you're focusing on the wrong thing. What you need to do is forget about it being 8K and ray traced. You just need to say to Nintendo, just off the Switch, which is never going to happen because Nintendo want to sell Switches.
But then you could be
what you need to do, Phil, is buy a bloody Switch.
Yeah, and then you can do the same as Chris does every week and moan about the controllers.
Yeah, buy a Switch and a Pro controller, and then bin the Joy-Cons because they're rubbish.
Yeah, it's not like I'd ever play games out and about anyway. The most I manage is like a little card game on my phone.
But the Switch I'm sorry, but the Switch is so good, and I don't play many games on it, but when there is a game that I want to play on it, and I'm afraid to say it was Diablo 3 last time, which I can't do now, but I actually make time at home to play on my handheld Switch rather than my PC or my Xbox.
Yeah, the games are great.
The game speaks for itself. It lends itself to that format.
And I think this is the thing. Is like Breath of the Wild. I'm not that far into it, but what I have played is brilliant. And mechanically, it's really sound. Again, Breath of the Wild is for me has always been a secondary game. Not that it's not worthy of being a full-time game, just because I've been so engrossed in other things that when I've picked up Breath of the Wild, it's been a bit of a time kill or something else, and then I'll put it down and then not go back to it for months, and then come back to it and go, oh, what am I doing again? But like it's got great mechanics. Like the game looks beautiful because of the art style. It does not need to be 8K. It doesn't need to be put on PC. it would be nice if Nintendo would do what Sony and Microsoft do and allow the IP
port,
outside of the outside of that. It's never going to happen. We've discussed this. I mean, it's massively unlikely to happen.
I'm
it's
sorry,
a shame,
Phil.
But
My
Phil,
thoughts is-
Phil, just do yourself a favor, buy a second-hand Switch, go buy one. It can even have knackered Joy-Cons because you don't need them, remember? And buy a Pro controller and play on the Switch, mate. You will get out of everyone on this podcast, the games lineup on Switch sings to you, mate.
It does.
You should
I know,
be the
and
guy.
that's what frustrates me.
Then buy. Don't
Buy
give Nintendo
one,
your
you
money. Buy a
fool.
second-hand one, or just give in and say, look, why am I denying myself experiences? Just buy a Switch, man. It isn't going to kill you, and you would benefit so much from it, and you would get so much from it. It's like, you know, I've only
Look at
owned
that face.
maybe-
Look at that face. He's
I've maybe
I
owned
don't want
2
to.
Nintendo consoles. I'm not a Nintendo person. I never had a SNES. You know, I never had an N64. I played them like crazy, you know, because some friends had them, but I never had them. But I love the
Can't
Switch.
hold
It's
that
a
anymore.
brilliant little machine. It's genuinely a brilliant little machine. Yes, the Joy-Cons are crap, and yes, Nintendo should have fixed it with the new update, and they should take responsibility for their crappy Joy-Cons.
It's all right. You're angry about something else today, Chris. It's good.
But
Focus on something else.
But the Switch and the games and what Nintendo put out is quality, and you should absolutely own one, mate. It's a real shame. I feel bad for you that you don't have one, man, because you would get a lot out of it. It's
There's
great.
loads
Yeah,
of content.
I really
on there,
want to play.
think
I
you
really
can
want to play the Xenoblade games. They're
Yep.
so
Just
up my
do it, man.
streets.
Honestly,
They're
do it.
so
You won't regret
JRPG.
You won't
I
regret
agree
it.
with again for the fourth time this pod. I totally agree with Chris.
It is the Twilight Zone.
It is.
I've gone all
We've
sweary and ranty.
What if it's the podcast? What if we finally moved into an alternate dimension?
Phil hosts and Alan and Chris agree on things.
Which we
I
actually
like
had
this.
we had our argument last night. We were waiting for Back for Blood to start up, so we were just like we were
but-
spent, weren't we? So we've
Just-
moved on.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
but I agree with Chris. You need to. You're doing yourself a disservice by not buying one.
The only
catalog
person
of
you're hurting
games.
here is you,
Yeah.
mate. At the end of the day.
Yeah, I know you're right. You know what? I just wanted to show you that, guys. I was hoping Nintendo will do it, but I think you're right. I'm going to have to cave and buy a Switch at some point, although not at the moment because they're still not available. Now, we are getting to the end of the podcast, and I did have one last thing that was a bit of a discussion, but what I just want to ask you the question instead, actually. So let me just pop this up. So Gamescom for Xbox, their stream is on the 24th of August. So what I thought is, what's one game you want to see at that Gamescom stream? Just one thing that you want to see that you'd be very excited to see.
Do you want me to go?
First.
Alan.
Alan first.
Top of my head, first game that comes into my head is Avowed.
Good choice.
yeah.
I like it.
Obsidian. Obsidian. I've already said, I'm an Elder Scrolls fan. This is Pillars of Eternity. This is Obsidian, who are coming in full and hard. Their take on as Outer Worlds, taking on Bethesda in their own game genres. These are the guys to do it. If they're going to get an Elder Scrolls killer and make a great IP that has already had a fully developed universe, just from that tiny trailer we saw at E3, Avowed, I am super excited for this game. I want to get every tiny morsel of information right up until the point that it comes out, and I'm absolutely, before I've seen anything, I know it's going to be good, so I want to see something about Avowed. I won't, because it's too soon, but I want to see something about Avowed.
Awesome. Chris, what do you want to see?
So one thing I'm still holding out hope for, and I'm hoping will come along, because if you follow the Gears community, we had the Gears 1, 2, 3 soundtracks drop recently back onto Spotify streaming with all new artwork by the wonderful Luke Priest, who's a fantastic artist, and I'm just hoping that it's like the precursor to the precursor of the announcement of the Phoenix collection. The Gears original Gears trilogy
Remaster of
remastered,
everything.
like properly redone. Full Series X upgrade. The whole 9 yards.
Fix all the gameplay issues because they play horrendously on back compat.
Well, I think that's a bit harsh. They play like Gears always did. Gears, some of it has aged, but I mean, there's a certain element in Gears 3 which has always been bad and needed to be fixed. It's bad game design, but there is there are ways around it. But I think they I would love to see them just like bring that into the Gears 5 engine, or maybe now they'll wait till it's Unreal 5. I don't know, but I want them to say they're doing it. I'd love to see that announcement trailer of seeing the old school like Gears come back, and that's not to say that I'm hating on Gears 4 and 5, because I've had a blast with them. I've never been too keen on the multiplayer in the more modern ones. But I was
we
never
grew
big
up
on the multiplayer in the first place.
We grew up with that Gears 1 to 4, didn't we? Those were our
game
heroes.
Grow up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Okay.
Maybe a wrong choice of wording, but that was our generation.
In terms of Gears, when Gears growing up, we were there at the beginning. We were there at the 4 times. It was our introduction to Gears, and those characters hold a special place. And like I want to see Delta Squad, like the old Delta Squad with Dom back in, and re-experience that trilogy again. It's probably also fueled by the fact that Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster was such a success and looked great. I'd love to see them come out and say, "Yep, Phoenix Collection. Here's Gears 1 to 3. In super like 4K, and do more than EA did. Properly remaster it. You don't change what Gears is. Just fix the little niggles here and there.
Take 5 and make it into 1, 2, and 3.
Somewhere between Mass Effect and Resident Evil 2 remake. Somewhere in the middle ground where you've sorted out some of the quality of life issues that aren't quite there for the modern generation of games. Up those graphics to modern standards, and I think that finally we might have a happy Chris.
I'd be happy if they just re-released it with flashier graphics, truthfully. But it would be nice to see them sort of address a few of the issues. But what I don't want to see them do though is go back to it and reintroduce all the Gears 5 weapons and things like that, which they wouldn't do because it wouldn't fit the timeline. But it would just be weird. So I'm happy to see what we're getting, and I'm super excited for it. I mean, but I will say this: if we get the Phoenix Collection, I would want like Gears 2 Horde, Gears 3 Horde. I would want them as they were, the full package, not just the campaign stuff.
Yeah.
Because unlike say Mass Effect, where the multiplayer in 3 was fun, but like it wasn't
ultimately
like the core of what made that game. Whereas Horde in Gears of War is a fundamental part of Gears of War.
I think as a template, the Halo Master Chief Collection for the Gears of War franchise is where we need to be. Yeah. We can see how much Halo Master Chief Collection has done to that whole IP of games, and how much of an audience it still has, even in the new generations that have come since their releases. That's what the MCC has done.
Do you know what amazes me?
Talk
about MCC, when you see people say no one cares about Halo anymore,
it's like rubbish.
It's nonsense. Absolutely. I mean, no one plays Halo. It's like I played Reach again the other day with Luke, a couple of weeks ago, and I've forgotten how phenomenally good Reach is as a game. Like, it's not one. It's so good.
The campaign is awesome, but you go online, you play the multiplayer games, there's never any waiting for lobbies. There's always people on there, and high-level people, mid-level people, and new people. There's still people being introduced to that franchise because of MCC every single day, and that's what it does, and that's what Gears needs. It needs.
It'd be lovely to have that for Gears as a Gears player.
Yeah,
I thoroughly agree. So for me, do you know, there's a lot of games I'm looking forward to, but then due to our Chris's little rant about Ubisoft. What I would like to see, I want to see more about Perfect Dark, because clearly we're not going to get a Splinter Cell. So this is Microsoft's opportunity to just take that little crown and move it across.
That'd be
if they do a third-person action stealth, which Perfect Dark basically fits into that category.
It does.
And they're just going from a male protagonist to a female protagonist, and Perfect Dark always had all the tech in there anyway. I think they could do something really fantastic with that. And I want to see some more about that. And I want to see if there's a chance that actually maybe Microsoft are going to fix our Ubisoft problem and they're going to give us Splinter Cell.
What we need to do is get Sam Fisher to voice Michael Ironside to voice Joanna Dark. That's what it is. That'll fix it.
It's very new world of you, that one, Chris. It's very acceptance. After Cyberpunk's many options on there, that's controversial. But could be a strong choice.
I'd definitely be in for that. I'd buy Perfect Dark with Michael Ironside voice and the lead protagonist.
Add on DLC. That's how they need to do it. Because it's going to freak a few people out.
Michael Ironside voicing everything is what we need.
I was just about to say, that's one of the things last night from playing Back 4 Blood very quickly, because I know we're wrapping up, but we're playing Back 4 Blood. What was it? The first thing we said? There's the guy talking in the background telling you stuff, and it was like he was budget Michael Ironside. He kind of just sounded a bit like my Michael Ironside. It's just brilliant. Love it.
Fantastic. Yeah. So yes, we are at the end of the podcast. It's been a bit of a long.
It's a long one.
But
what a shocker. Phil wants to
apologies for the sweary rant. I will say that. Apologies for the sweary rant. I'm just knocking stuff over as well.
Oh dear.
But Ubisoft deserve that, in my opinion. At this point, so Ubisoft deserve it.
That they do. Well, on that note, it's a bye from Alan.
Oh, I've been awesome, and you might have been as well. Goodbye.
It's a bye from Chris.
Alan's been awesome, and you might have been as well. Who knows?
And that's a bye from me. So bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Ciao.